Okay.
Okay, shall we? Good morning and welcome to El Paso and the first ever European off-road running championships on the amazing island of La Palma here in the Canary Islands, or Los Palmas as the locals prefer to call it. So this morning we've got 4 races for you, 2 under 20 race European Championship races over 5.2 kilometres straight uphill. There's the start line there on your screen, and then followed that by 2 senior races, men and women, at 8.9 kilometres straight uphill. My name is Paul Larkins, and I'm here with Rennie Borg here for you today.
Yes, thank you for that introduction, Paul. We're very excited here to take you through the first of the European mountain running events in this format. The previous time an event like this was run in 2019, it was in the form of the European Mountain Running Championship, but that format has now expanded, and that's why we have quite a lot of events to look forward to. As Paul was alluding to, we've got 4 different uphill-only races today. Tomorrow our transmission continues with the long 47-kilometer trail event, and finally on Sunday, last but not least, we've got the up and down junior races and senior races over a gruelling, actually 17.6 kilometer course for the seniors, which is a bit longer than they would be used to. What you see here is the under 20 athletes warming up in the little suburb of Barrial, which is just out on the eastern outskirts of El Paso. And for those who are not experts on Canarian geography, the village of El Paso is nestled here on the warmer west coast of the island of Las Palmas. Most of the athletes will have spent yesterday evening in the team hotels on the east coast. So here we can see the broad timelines. And the location is just being brought to us here, so you can attach a visual to the description. And now the course profile. So as the runners make their way out of the suburban Barrial area, they complete 2 laps of 2.7 kilometers. This is the up and down mountain race. Yeah, this is the up and down mountain race, that we will be seeing on Sunday. 2 short laps.
I think this morning's we ran part of the course yesterday, and you're going to find out it's as the cameras will show you, it's going to be pretty demanding. Opening kilometre or so, then it heads into the forest on some pretty easygoing paths. I think these guys won't have too much bother with it. For a technical last kilometre, I would say, up into the mountains and the finish line, which and we have to help you understand that, we've got, I think, 13 static cameras and a couple of drones flying, and then hopefully some cameramen running with cameras. So that should be quite exciting and should give us a pretty good overview of all the action. We chatted with Rennie and I chatted with the team managers yesterday, and I think the conclusion is it's a pretty open race and anyone can win this one.
Yeah, it sounds like that, although quite a lot of them were keeping their cards very close to their chest, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, they were very low profile. I didn't want to put any pressure on anybody, but you know, as this commentary is in English, I can tell you the British team is pretty strong. But then, you know, I took a flight with the Swiss team as well, and we ran with them yesterday, and they look pretty good as well.
Yeah, and you've come here with a big contingent, whereas some of the countries, if you look at the uphill senior men's race coming later, have only 1 or 2 representatives in the race. So, for instance, a very traditionally passionate trail running nation like Ireland is only represented by Zach Hanna, who was second recently at Montemura. But that, like a lot of the events leading into this, was a bit hard to read, because many athletes seem to be saving themselves here in the last few weeks and months ahead of this event.
Well, yeah, it's such a major title as well, isn't it? And I think it was interesting to chat with the guys as well about the technicality of the course. I mean, in fact, one of your Irish guys there he was choosing between about 4 or 5 pairs of shoes. He couldn't quite decide what was going to work best on such as the different terrain. They're going to, in this race this morning, for instance, they're going to run a kilometre or so on the tarmac before heading to the loose pine and then rock. And then some more gradual trails. So you can see footwear is going to be an issue.
Yeah, there's no real perfect choice for any of these races, and it kind of comes from the nature of not just Spanish trail running, but I think a lot of the continental races really favor these types of starting areas in the urban zones. And then as you run into the wilderness, it's nearly like you pass through, as you said, first a very steep tarmac climb in this instance, and then onto quite rough urban trails, and then ever-changing surfaces as you get onto the proper open mountains.
Yeah, I think it's right to start as well in the urban areas here, because I mean, what we picked up very quickly is that Canary Islands are passionate about trail running. So we've just gone to the studio here. Oh, okay.
We're just following here in Back to the Roost, the Spanish commentary team they're actually sitting next to us here is segregated out. So unfortunately, neither myself nor Paul are Spanish experts, so we can't give you an exact account of what they're saying.
No, I'm just transfixed by their studio, which is amazing. So compared to our table here that we're sitting at.
Yes, so the context for this is that this event is not just televised on European or through the European Athletics live stream, but in fact it's also run on TV de Canarias, which is the station that covers all of the Canary Islands.
Well, as I was saying before I got transfixed by the studio there, the trail running is enormous in the Canary Islands. As we will see tomorrow when there's an open race for all the residents, and last night there was a night race which had a good number of people running over a pretty fast course, wasn't it? Over 2 miles?
Yeah, it was. I went out into the hills just to have a look and try and get a feel for what sort of event it would be, and the event was called Subida de las Estrellas, the race to the stars. This is something that combines both the love of trail running that they have here on the Canaries with one of the recent achievements. They got a Starlight Award, which is essentially, you could imagine, like a blue flag for watching stars.
Yes, the residents here in the Canary Islands are rightly proud of the dark skies, and it's literally the best in the world for night observation, and the island has an amazing observatory, and I mean, really, that is the #1 tourism attraction, I would say, apart from the beautiful weather, of course. But today it's, I think it's about 20 degrees already. It's going to be about 23 maybe by the end of the day.
Yeah, the general forecast is warm, but not as sweltering as maybe some of the northern European teams could have feared. Yet, as we saw yesterday, Paul, once you start moving uphill from the start, which is roughly at 750 meters here, by the time the senior athletes are at the top, they're at 1,600 meters. But that middle zone, the heat can really bite, and you're losing a lot of water, you're losing a lot of fluid. So any of these athletes will be very wary, I believe, of going off too fast, losing too much fluid, and then really suffering through the last half of the race.
Well, actually, on that note, René, you're going to be our expert today. Do you think that these guys are working to a race strategy and they've got a definite plan, or they're just going to, when the gun goes, head up as fast as they can?
My experience has been that you get every type of athlete in these events. So you will have athletes like the Irishman we spoke to yesterday. He's got every single detail and scenario plotted out in his mind. Then you've got the instinctive type who has so much experience and confidence just in their physical abilities that they're just going to react. They're going to observe, I think, the early hustle and bustle, see, do I like this pace? Do I like this intensity?
Yeah.
If they do, they'll stick to it. If they think it's insane, they might allow to some of their competitors just enough rope to hang themselves.
Well, we've just got a few minutes now to the start, and I cannot wait for the first, let's call it insane, 400 meters. We ran it yesterday, and I can tell you it's pretty steep. And if you get that wrong, it's very fast. If you get it wrong, you're going to pay the penalty pretty quickly.
And we're moving to, just before we get to that, is a bit of footage here from yesterday's, I think, glorious opening ceremony. And we saw that Las Palmas Passion.
Yes, we positioned ourselves carefully in a local bar just to get the right kind of atmosphere. And in fact, you might even see us.
Yeah, that was the only reason.
and to be fair, the locals were just so enthusiastic. It was just incredible. I mean, cheering everyone, and the teams loved it. I mean, parades often are a little bit uninteresting, but not yesterday. The teams really bought into it and really got involved, and you know, it was a great way to get the weekend going.
And as per usual, just in case some of our viewers are wondering, you know, some of the teams did come with only a partial contingent, and that could be due to the flight time. Some athletes might arrive later, and we know that some athletes just prefer to stay very low-key that final day before the race and not even spend the energy to go to the starting parade.
Well, yes. In fact, the athletes are staying on the other side of the island near the airport, so I think they were probably pleasantly surprised to come over to this side, which has its own microclimate here and is a little bit warmer and drier. They came from the rain, amazingly.
Yes, it is. This is one of the smaller Canary Islands, and yet we are here on by far the warmer side. What we can see here is also a lot of the speakers involved with making this happen, because it's one thing that really characterizes trail running and mountain running in Spain is enormous support from not just the local municipals, the local mayor, the local politicians, but also the local companies. You know, so you will see obviously some of the sponsors who've made this happen. Primarily, I think Fred Olsen, which is a Danish name and made me quite curious, but apparently that's the local ferry service here between the Canary Islands.
Well, yeah, I mean, we won't talk endlessly about sponsors, but sponsors are hugely important to this event, and, you know, especially in the last 2 years when, you know, we've all globally struggled to get. So thank you for the sponsors, and I guess we're about ready to get going. And are we going to have a gun start here, or are we electronic here?
Yeah, so you'll see here we've got 22 competitors in the under-20 men's race. We've got a lone Bulgarian, Nikolai Kaufman. We've got a full Czech team, a contingent of 3, so there's 3 to score in the team competition. The home team from Spain, chasing their first European Championship, have 4 runners at the start line. We've got 4 from your native Great Britain as well, Paul. 4
yes.
From the always strong Italians, a lonely Slovenian, and 2 Swiss runners, Jonas Freund and Michael Marty.
Okay, well, the runners are on the line now, and we're just waiting for the last instructions and a manic first 400 meters. That's my prediction. But the confident runners will just go a little bit easier. We'll see. Under 20s.
I think we expect the usual sprint off the line, and then really it'll be a matter of how quickly can these runners rein the speed into a sustainable effort. These junior athletes have roughly just under 5.3 kilometers uphill only, with an over 600 meter vertical gain.
Yeah, it's anybody's guess how long that's going to take. I mean, this age group on the flat would probably think they can run it in 15 minutes, but I'm going to think it's going to be closer to 30 minutes, such as Millennia.
There we go.
Fabulous.
Yes, and this is the very steep early climb we're talking about, and it's when you see it on television, you just cannot do it justice. It's always steeper than what you see on the screen. Just bear that in mind.
Yeah, it's the Tour de France style, isn't it? They don't look like they're doing anything, but I can tell you they're running straight up a mountain there. You wouldn't want to park on that road without a very good handbrake on your car, that's for sure. It's So they've got about, I think about 400 meters, 500 meters before they hit the forest path, which is, that part is pretty easy going, and we'll see where our cameras are situated for that. Obviously, we couldn't have a drone going up that section. Local residents may not enjoy that.
No, and probably there is no running cameraman quite fast enough to stay ahead of the crowd on this one.
Well, Rene, I ran with you yesterday. I think you could have run with a camera quite easily. At least the technology on that has changed. I remember watching the New York Marathon from about 1985. Dixon had to wear a camera on his head, and it looked like it weighed about 15 kilos. These days, such as the technology, you can easily run with a camera.
I think we are seeing there's a real renaissance for TV and multimedia and trail running. Yeah, a very welcome one, because I think most of us in this community have always felt, we have this great love for this sport, but it has always been a participant sport first and foremost, and it's been a spectator sport second. A few races around the world, like Snowdon race, in Great Britain. Also, we have some footage here. I believe this must be the under-20 women's warm-up.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the warm-up area. So we will be awaiting this.
They're on in half an hour or so.
A 9:30 start for those who want to go make a cup of tea, who have people to follow in the under-20 women.
Also a small field, around 20, 25. I think we haven't had a final start list yet. I think we do, actually.
Yes, the original list for the under-20 women's had 31 competitors, but that has since been whittled down to a mere 22. As one of the interesting aspects of athletics in general, but also this championship, there's quite a lot of family relationships among the runners and family history. And we appear to have two sisters running here for the Swiss team, Anya and Sina Schörling. I believe they are there's another twins couple as well coming on later in the weekend, Paul. So it's for the people who believe that talent runs in the family, it's not entirely untrue, but I'm sure both of them have done nearly equal work as well.
But anyway, back to why trail running is so amazing, and we hope that this really catches on now, and we'll get more camera footage to show you just how spectacular the views are going to be for the runners. You can see, once we get going, you'll see why trail running just is so popular here on these islands, and also globally growing at such an amazing rate. I mean, we can talk endlessly about the fitness it provides in it, but also just the beautiful scenery, and it's a
Yes, there is a greater, you could nearly say, spiritual connection to running on the trails compared to the roads. And I really mean no offense to anyone who enjoys road running. But as we saw yesterday, the pure adventure of coming to... We're just getting a notification there through our headphones, but it...
No, I can make that out who the leader is.
Yeah, we'll update you if that...
Playita, monte, buena comida. Ay, este año las necesito más que nunca. Y ellos, míralos cómo se lo pasan. Anda, lo que faltaba. No hay mejor forma de empezar las vacaciones.
Este verano, tus vacaciones empiezan con Fredolsen Express, tu mejor compañía.
Bonita te llaman, bonita y silente. Bonito es tu canto con letras de sal, en versos de miel. Hermoso tu llanto con aires de lima. Me alimentas, me arrullas, me tientas, me excitas, me aquietas. Me haces volar, me das vida. Bonito tu rubor reflejo en mis ojos. Majestuosos los ojos de tu cielo infinito, porque arbitras batallas entre luces y raíces y apaciguas furias con colores y matices. Y bonita cuando ruges, cuando te enciendes. Eres bonita porque renaces, porque te yergues. Eres bonita, y bonita tu gente, porque te cuidan porque te quieren, porque se cuidan, porque se quieren. Ayer, hoy y mañana. Por 1000 razones, bonita. La Palma, la isla bonita.
And it looks good. Very good indeed.
Very close, and Jackson is the champion. Olias gets the silver.
Skipper's long legs can't catch Asher Smith. Asher Smith wins it. Skipper's in second place.
And oh my God, he goes clear.
Me quedo en La Palma.
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 There's no rhyme or reason with your I found. I will not throw home while my heart is full. The world outside is so cold, but it's summer in my soul.
Okay, well, but there we go, back on the start line. We've got still 20 minutes or so for the under-20 women.
Yes, and I think we can remind just anyone who's tuned into the stream a bit late that we are following currently the under-20 men's uphill-only championship here at the very first European off-road championship on La Palma. So we're waiting really at this stage to get some of the footage from up in these pine cone covered mountains. Paul, I believe we were told yesterday there's 13 fixed cameras up on the route that'll give us some of this footage.
Yes, and also a mountain bike and some runners with cameras, which hopefully, I guess, like anything, the signal is going to be in and out in the mountains. But there we go, there's a first checkpoint. It's on the slightly easier. We ran on these trails, but obviously they look a bit different when you're actually running on them than from the camera point of view. But I think that's early on in the forest there. But we'll see the team managers just discussing tactics there. Which
one of the things we saw in that area where the first aid station is located is that it's most of it is fairly innocuous. We get this kind of red dirt trail with some rocks, but there are areas of deception, especially the pine cone trees leave very, very heavy sediment on the ground, which is nearly as slippy as mud in some sections.
Yeah, the pine cones, yeah, I would call them almost like ice. I suspect they don't get too much ice here, but it's very slippery indeed, and certainly at descending at speed. We've got some, just exploring, this is the type of trails, a little bit clearer trails than the race trails for this particular event. But this kind of sums up what Canary Islands are all about in terms of trail running. In fact, in the town square here at El Paso, there's a permanent map for everyone to look at any trail that they fancy, from 10 kilometers all the way to super long, ultra distance ones, which is kind of says that this is a community for runners.
Yeah, it's a wonderful facility, and I must say I was casting envious glances because I live in a village myself that has quite a few waymarked trails, but they're all for hikers. And I would quite like to have a separate board calling out all the good running routes in the area.
Yeah, it definitely says that you're a runner here first and then a hiker, whereas I guess in most locations it's the other way around. So that's quite exciting. But an easy trails to follow. We obviously had it waymarked for the race. So here we go. We've still got the women are going to get a little bit nervous now. They got 15 or 20 minutes to go for their big event. Be excited to get European Championships under your belt, and really excited. I know there's been a lot of debate about the difference between trail running and off-road running and mountain running, and I think this kind of encompasses everything to maximize the benefits for people who come from all different disciplines. In Britain we have fell running, which is very, very different to the event that they'll be racing today. This is far more mountain paths, I think, alpine mountain paths is probably the best way to describe it.
Yes, and I took note from Sarah Rowell from the World Mountain Running Association was inspecting this course, I believe it was about a month ago, and she was quoted as saying she felt the course was tough, fair, and respecting the traditions of both trail and mountain running.
Yeah, I had a long chat with Sarah just about on this very subject, and it's a very difficult area, isn't it? Because everyone has a different opinion on what a trail race should be. So, she said there was endless arguments about trying to bring everyone together. So, but they've successfully done that.
Here we are seeing this Subida de las Estrellas, the race to the stars, which I was observing yesterday evening. That was an uphill-only race as well, but only over 3.2 miles with a 600-meter vertical. So the same vertical as the junior race today, but over 2 kilometers less. And you can see these wonderful chutes that they had put a lot of effort into erecting. So apart, though, from those early and late stages of the race, the runners were fully left to light their own way with head torches. These athletes were sent off in 30-second segments because it was quite a narrow trail. I believe the intention was for everyone to finish as close together as possible. And the reward at the end of it, as we were alluding to, and again for anyone joining late, is to really take in this magnificent starlight that they have here, which has led to the development of an astronomical observatory in these hills. And it's considered, I believe, one of the best places for stargazing.
Yes, I've read that independently. It's the number one place in the world to come and to look at the night skies. I'm just watching these guys celebrate finishing. Good job. There are no local residents up there, by the looks of it, because that's an endless ringing of bells.
Yes, it was a very, very lonely start area as well. And the music, we were in the middle of this little valley, and the music, the inspirational Braveheart music, was blazing through the loudspeakers. So it was kind of a bit of a surreal experience, as darkness set over this kind of enclave of civilization.
So I think we're just taking a look at the top of the route, I would say. That is, again, difficult to tell from our experience on running it yesterday, because we were obviously much lower, as in underneath the trees. But I think that's looking back. But you can see why trail running is just so spectacular, and definitely a sport that easily will grow in the coming years. More and more people are recognizing just what makes trail running so great, and you only have to watch camera work like this to see that, just running through the mountains in relatively close to El Paso, so you can run an hour or so in the mountains there and be back in time for a coffee or whatever. Not a problem.
I think it's always a big selling point for the traveling trail runner that there's good way marking and information about local trails, and they really have that here. Even if you take away the race marking, which we were following yesterday, there's a lot of signs that at every major pass, for instance, you'll find a sign that shows you, this way you will go to Cumbre Viejo, the old peak, which is one of the most prominent of this area, and if you take the other way, you'll be going down to this trailhead. So I think that just really takes a lot of the effort out of planning your trail running trip, although I know there are some among our listeners who enjoy that part.
Not me, but I definitely have to have a waymarked trail. Although, yes, you're right. I think the British seamen especially don't really they like to make their own routes. But I tell you, one thing we haven't mentioned that we just need to chat about, mostly because we saw it this morning, is the La Palma is famous for the volcano, which exploded last year, and let me tell you, it's unbelievable. It's sitting there so close to town, just steaming, and you think, well, it's just an incredible sight.
Yes, it really is. The first time I drove into town, I didn't even notice it because it's so obvious. And then you look up and you just see this gaping maw, and you think it could erupt any moment. But clearly, at this stage, the volcanic experts have it more or less under control.
Yeah, they sort of erupt twice in your lifetime, maybe, here on this island. Obviously, that's not an exact formula, and it can be very random, but that's just statistically speaking. So I think we've seen its eruption now for at least 30 or 40 years. But what fascinated me was that it's a magnificent sight, and yet it wasn't there, a year ago. It's a pretty large mountain.
Yes, yeah, it's quite incredible to think, and it's a miracle as well that no one actually got killed during the initial eruption or afterwards, but there was significant damage done. And a lot of people left their houses. And sorry, we're just getting back to the race here. It looks like we have the race leader arriving at the first support station. He's not lingering there.
No, because this thing has been going 15 minutes, so you definitely won't be dehydrated at this stage. I don't think it's going to be an issue in the uphill race anyway. You've got enough energy supplies, electrolytes to make it all the way to the top. But,
I believe we were seeing Paul Lukas Oehler of Germany going by the singlet. We couldn't quite make out the number from this distance.
No, I couldn't either, so well done on that one.
And this seems to be one of the local runners.
Yeah. So that's great for Spain there in second place, but it looks like a significant lead at this stage, but I can tell you that the final kilometre is going to be very tricky indeed, over some pretty technical terrain. So here we go, as our fixed camera is going to pick up the leader here, hopefully, for us. He's looking pretty strong, nice arm action, and just running pretty easily on that path there. That's a graded mountain path there that I think that you could drive on. Here we go.
Yeah, and it is Lukas Oehler. And this we did feel a bit of relief ourselves arriving at this section. And the course, despite it being uphill only, and if you go on to the Reventon El Paso website and have a look at the profile, it looks unrelenting. But there are kind of these little terraces where you just get a slight rest. Of course, these athletes might not look at it that way. They might say this is the time to push.
Yeah, I would say this is the fastest part of the course, actually. So if you're going to make a move, you're going to make it here. And I think I'm going to boldly say that that's probably the move for the gold medal. Mostly because it's so technical from the final kilometre that it's going to be. That's looking strong there in second place. The Spanish guys, number 7.
Number 7, yes. So number 7 is Juan Torella.
Looking good as well. So. In fact, if anything, a little bit more sprightly. So maybe I'm wrong and he's going to haul in the German, but I doubt it. Well, here we go.
The third place is shadowed by one of the Great Britain runners.
Yeah, Britain in 4. So very, very different to the British trial, which was in Scotland.
We've gone to first of the Italians.
His team manager there has done well to get all the way up there. Well done.
I think that may have been Marco Camorani. But yeah, it looks like it could be quite an exciting battle. It's certainly for the third spot.
Yeah. It's going to be close for 3 and 4 for sure.
David Curioni. He's followed by one of the Czech contingent.
Fabulous. We just hope that we can pick up another camera in the next or so. See how far.
The second Spaniard seemed to be Marcos Villamuera. Here's our lone Bulgarian representative in this race, Nikolai Kaufman. And Edward Corden, Great Britain.
Just having a look at the route map for you, see if we can work out where they are on there.
The first aid station is at the 2.5 kilometer point called Cuesta. So we have these runners have roughly covered just under half of the climb at this stage.
I would say 2/3 of the climb now, judging by my live track here. But
yes, we should advertise this for anyone listening. If you do want to see the GPS tracking locations of all the athletes, you can go on the Live Info app.
It's called Live Info. Download Live Info, and you can get you'll have the same detail as us. So that's good. So yeah, about 2/3 of the way, I would say. Updating location currently. So yeah, 2/3. So we're into the final kilometre, 1,500 meters or so, which won't occupy 4 minutes. It will occupy much longer.
So here you can get a really good feel for the surfaces. This is the earlier trail, which is more what our northern European listeners might recognize as a fire road. And we did, in fact, see quite a lot of activity up there yesterday by loggers.
Oh yes. In fact, there was a tree down yesterday, which which has been removed, I can see, so that's good.
Yes,
it would have been quite difficult hurdling that one.
We believe the men's runners are now moving into about the 1,300 meter elevation area, and the finish line today will be at 1,581 meters. So just about to the point where you would normally start to feel that, yes, there is a little bit of a slight change here in the thickness of the air.
Yeah, Boulder, Colorado, which is a super popular high-altitude training camp, that's at 1,600, so I think. So, it's just about high altitude, but it wouldn't have affected these runners at all to this point. So, number 20.
Number 20 is Maš Brišnik from Slovenia, and I do apologize if there are any of the many languages we have to try and master in this weekend, but we don't do a satisfying job.
Yes, I tried practicing a few names. That's why you're doing them, Renee. My definite South England pronunciation would not cope with any Spanish or French or German or indeed anyone. So we've got about 10 minutes to the 7 minutes to the under 20 women. So the nerves are really jangling now, I suspect, and we're just going to see a similar start in a position, trying to get yourself in position for the transition into the forest paths.
Yeah, and for any latecomers here, this area is the little suburb of Barrial, and you will see this twice over the weekend. You're going to see this part of this start line for the uphill under 20 races. But the runners in the up and down races as well, they're actually going to descend part of what's the uphill course today. And they're going to basically re-emerge all the way back down into the suburbs. They're going to cross some short tarmac sections before climbing back out into the mountains.
That's going to be a very different race as well, isn't it? The descending is such a skill, and especially on loose gravel that makes up most of these paths. That's going to be a completely different experience for the racers, to the guys that are just running straight uphill today, which of course is brutal for all of the obvious reasons. Climbing from about 600 meters to 1,600 meters. So it's a vertical kilometer roughly.
Here they're just reminding us of the latest schedule. So the start of the senior men's and women's races, which was scheduled to start at 5 minutes past 10 for the men. And we expect to have the elite women's start. I must be getting old here, Paul, because I can't really quite see it on my notes, but it's about 30 minutes later. We'll just confirm that to you. And here's the course for the uphill only, but we will, I think, just as we've been speaking through and seeing the profile,
I think they're just doing strides.
They're just doing strides, yeah. They're not quite off yet. They're being allowed to just get a taster for what's to come.
May regret that. Don't do too many strides uphill, I would suggest, but
no.
What do I know? I live in the Fens in Great Britain, which is it's very similar to Holland. There are definitely no fell runners where I live.
Yes, no, I grew up in a very similar place, Paul, in the Frisian flatlands of Denmark, and yes, this is very different, but I suppose we can assume these athletes are so superbly conditioned.
Oh yeah, looking at the British team, they all live in the lakes or in Scotland, where obviously the mountains are very testing indeed. So as that TV program is, it's location. I think for a lot of these runners, if you don't live in the mountains, it's very difficult to be a fabulous mountain runner.
And we can see that if we look at the history of now. This event obviously is in its first edition, but we do have the full history of the.
No real surprise, is there? I mean, I've run in Switzerland, and I can tell you it's quite hilly.
Yeah, it's definitely you do get the odd exception of a person who has moved from flat conditions and become superb mountain runners. So that's you, dear viewer. All hope is not lost.
Yes. I was talking to a guy called Jonathan Albon just last week, who won the Marathon de Mont Blanc, and so he lived in South London. So he's moved to Norway now, which is slightly more mountainous than South London. But he said he just got a passion for running off road and running mountains, and made that move to Norway, and now he's just reaping the benefits, I guess. So, but it shows you how global trail running is becoming. So he's won this a big race in Switzerland and choosing over this one. So, but. An error. I think the European Championship title is far more exciting.
Yes, there was a bit of a stir in media yesterday from some comments made by the Spanish team coach in the official report that was published in Spanish only, but I got a translation. He did feel that there were too many of the really elite, especially Spanish athletes, who had dodged the event because we're in a situation now where there is a lot of money involved in some of the big sponsored races like the Golden Trail Series. And obviously for a lot of these athletes, it's very hard to combine their commitments. It's hard to go out at Sagama a few weeks ago to get a shot at that title and represent the sponsor that is your bread and butter, and at the same time then coming here. Do you think that detracts from the event in any way, Paul?
A little bit. I think, I always put precedence over European Championships over everything. So, but I can understand fully, because trail running and mountain running is so fabulous wherever you choose, because by default the locations are in just amazing places and make fabulous tourist destinations, as La Palma is showing here. So, I'm just watching the start. The women, they're getting very nervous now. So we've got about 30 seconds, I would say. So it's all about concentration now and living up to your race strategy and confidence, I suppose, rather than losing that confidence in the next 10 seconds and just going for glory. It's understanding that the strategy will win this race.
We can see there's a few teams here battling it out for the team title. So we've got the Italian contingent, again Great Britain with 4 runners, and the home team, of course, of Spain, have got 3. Of the runners who are running purely for individual glory, we've got here Ida Valdal from Norway. We have also got a runner from Slovenia once again, and Anna Novak. And Slovenia is a country that has quite a tradition in mountain running and has done very well in the World Cup over the years.
Yeah, they're definitely a strong, and so we're looking at the final countdown. Here we go.
The gun is about to go,
and we're away. Take it easy. Yeah, that's a more sedate start, I think. Maybe, I don't know, we're hitting the front there and off we go. So, again, as we know, it's a quick start up the asphalt tarmac residential area here. So a fabulous place to live, as you can see. And they'll be into the forest path within a couple of minutes, I would say.
The Italian team there seem to be opting for a conservative strategy.
Best way. Definitely pace yourself. It's all about pacing yourself. And as you rightly pointed out, the fire road at about 4 kilometres, 3.5 kilometres, that's a key point where you can really make a move and really make the move for the line. So here we go. This is the finish line, which is pretty spectacular, I can tell you. It's very high up, and it's not for the faint-hearted.
I believe we have already the winner.
There's the winner.
Yeah, he has already. He was not caught on camera as he crossed the finish line, but it means that the winner was Lucas Early. He held the lead that we saw 2/3 up the climb, that he didn't falter, and he's just received his medal there. Behind him is the Master of Ceremonies, Owen Flynn, a former Irish international mountain running athlete who works regularly on this circuit as presenter.
In fact, lives in the Canary Islands himself, doesn't he? In Gran Canaria, is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, he lives in Gran Canaria. So, and this could be the second place runner.
It's a Spaniard, I would assume. I think it's so difficult to. Oh, there's been a closing up right behind him, though. The second and third is very close. This is into the last 300 meters. I'm thinking. It's running on a switchback gravel rock path, which it's going to be difficult to pass anyone anyway.
We can hear here from our Spanish colleagues next door that this looks to be Alvaro
There's
Sanz.
the finish line.
Yeah, and unless a runner was missed from the footage, this is our silver medalist.
Yeah. It's a very steep finish, as you can tell. It's not 300 meters, that's 100 meters.
Yeah, the runners actually get a nice warning. So for the last 500 meters, there's a countdown of signs. 500 meters to go.
And they go very slowly.
But it does look like a 2-3 here for Spain, which puts them in a great position to take the team gold as well.
Yeah, and there's the first Briton crossing the line in 4th place. Well done.
And if that would be Edward Corden.
Who started as one of the pre-race, I'm going to say favourites, but I don't think there were any real standout favourites in this race. So it'll be interesting to, hopefully Owen will speak to the winner and get a feeling for what he thought of the course, and also perhaps a little bit from where he, there we go, camera is frozen there.
And I think that's Marco Camerani, the first Italian. And what will be really interesting now is probably the battle for the silver in the team competition between Great Britain and Italy. And of course, we can't fully discount that they might still be in it for the gold if the third Spanish scorer is quite far down the field.
Yeah, they're always the key player in a team event. And I think that's hugely important in an event like this. The team gold means as much as the individual gold, for sure. And I'm just watching I think that's a Spaniard.
I'm certainly seeing a red singlet. Coming up here, the final switchback.
Signal is a little bit.
This is, I believe, the Czech runner.
Yes, it is. Well done. And a sprint finish.
Whoa. Oh, yes.
Whoa!
A bad
there's
fall
a
there
faller.
from the Great Britain runner.
I guess it was a risk worth taking, but...
yeah, he will be feeling that tonight.
We've run on that path. I can tell you there's no room for passing in the last 50 metres. It's a done deal. In fact, there's another faller just there. He just fell on that last turn. But he's okay. He's just going to take this last 50 metres now, having fallen just 20 metres earlier than that.
We're getting a second Czech runner across the line here now as well. Yeah. We can't quite see the numbers, unfortunately, just due to the heavy glare from the sunshine.
Yeah, it's on the top of a mountain, so the signal is going to be a little bit there. Is that another Spanish there?
Yeah, we'll remind our listeners that all of this is done at 1,580 meters, and there is no driving here. So every volunteer, all the equipment has to roughly be walked in about a 40-minute hike.
It is, at a very steep-looking hike. If you look, we can't see, but if you look behind, that's a straight ravine. It's not something you fancy standing, balancing on your tippy toes. So it's a pretty steep drop behind them. A fantastic finish line, and perhaps one of the most spectacular finish lines in the world.
Yeah, I would go. Obviously, there will be others, but it really was quite dramatic. And just as we've been talking about the finish line, we've seen the third Spaniard arrive, which I think would confirm team gold for Spain. It appears like there might be 3 Italians cross the line now as well.
Yeah, it's difficult to work out, I'm sorry. Signal's not good enough for us to see, but I would say that probably Spain have nipped it, but we'll subject to official confirmation.
And that'll be a great start for the host nation. And surprisingly to me, this is the first time Spain is hosting a European Championship in trail running, despite their long history across all these disciplines.
It is surprising to me, having run in the Pyrenees and some massive trail races there. I'm amazed by that. It's because those were fabulously organised, as this is. So I'm just looking at the mountain in the background there. If you, I've forgotten the name, I apologise, but we can look it up for you. But if you look to the right, you can see the guy's face, his nose and his chin. And then if you look to the left, that's his hands resting on his chest.
Yes, and this is a fascinating story of a local chief from the, and I really do apologize if I misspelled it or mispronounced this, but Guanche, I believe, people who were a Neolithic people that occupied these islands before the Spanish arrived. And rather than being dragged back to the Spanish mainland in chains and ignominy, he decided basically to kill himself and die here on his native La Palma, and this is then, this is meant to be him, I imagine, still resting here and imbuing the local nation with his spirit and his courage.
Yes, and giving them a little bit of sisu, as in the Finnish word for passion for trail running. So quite exciting. But so we're just waiting now, I guess, for the under-20 women to appear. So they're probably about 5 minutes away from the first checkpoint, I think. So they'll be on the Pine Forest Trail at the moment, making their way through the lower forest.
What you're seeing at the moment seems to be the Portuguese team.
Playita, monte, buena comida. Ay, este año las necesito más que nunca. Y ellos, míralos cómo se lo pasan. Anda, lo que faltaba. No hay mejor forma de empezar las vacaciones.
Este verano, tus vacaciones empiezan con Fredolsen Express, tu mejor compañía.
Bonita te llaman, bonita y silente. Bonito es tu canto con letras de sal, en versos de miel. Hermoso tu llanto con aires de lima. Me alimentas, me arrullas, me tientas, me excitas, me aquietas. Me haces volar, me das vida. Bonito tu rubor reflejo en mis ojos. Majestuosos los ojos de tu cielo infinito, porque arbitras batallas entre luces y raíces y apaciguas furias con colores y matices. Y bonita cuando ruges, cuando te enciendes. Eres bonita porque renaces, porque te yergues. Eres bonita, y bonita tu gente, porque te cuidan, porque te quieren, porque se cuidan, porque se quieren. Ayer, hoy y mañana, por mil razones, bonita, bonita, siempre. La Palma, la isla bonita.
And it looks good. Very good indeed.
Very close. And Jackson is the champion. Olias gets the silver.
Skipper's long legs can't catch Asher Smith. Asher Smith wins it. Skipper's in second place.
quedo en La Palma.
Me 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 quedo en La Palma.
There's no rhyme or reason with you I have found. I will not grow old while my heart is full. The world outside is so cold, but it's summer in my soul.
Okay, welcome back to the European Off-Road Championships here in La Palma in the Canary Islands. So we've had the first winners across the line in the under 20 men, 6 kilometres roughly uphill, give or take. I think it might be 6.7 actually, but Germany 1, Spain 2, 3, Great Britain 4.
Yeah, now we're waiting or hoping we will see soon some footage when, as the under 20 women arrive at the first aid station at the Cuesta. So there is only 2 aid stations on this relatively short course. There is one 2/3 up the hill and then one at the very finish line where they're probably more likely to be taking it. So for those again who are joining us just now, we are seeing the first 2 races out of 5 during these 3 days of events. The uphill only event obviously is the one that probably goes most strongly with the continental European mountain running tradition, Paul.
Yes, I've run a couple of vertical kilometres in France, and they are hugely popular. I mean, literally with thousands of runners in where was it, in Annecy in France, and so it's growing in popularity all round. And in fact, just a few weeks ago, there was a British vertical kilometre in the Lake District, and as it sounds, a vertical kilometre is unrelenting, and there's not much rest. The rest is always uphill anyway. So, and in this case, it's a fire road, which at about 3.5 kilometres. So that's where everyone is looking to make their move, I think.
And here we've got this is just an update on the Sunday races, the up and down under 20 races, which will of course run before the seniors as well as they do today. I think we're getting the course profile of that event again. This is the junior course, which begins and ends the same place as the junior uphill races today, so in this little suburb of Barrial. That means that the runners will twice have to run through kind of urban, very hard trails and tarmac before emerging. This here now, we are going back to the start of the men's race today. You can see here as well the main geographical features that all of the races are located in. It's an area called I lost my notes there, but it's called the Cumbrecita. It's essentially called the Cauldron. And the reason it's called the Cauldron is this is one of the biggest and oldest volcanoes on the island, thankfully no longer active, unlike the Cumbre Vieja in
that's
town.
Good news.
That is good news. But it explains these massive walls that you can see as the runners leave El Paso and gets towards today's finishing area. That massive drop that Paul referred to earlier, that's actually this cauldron.
Ah, okay. Well, I did actually in my geography at school all about volcanoes, so it is fascinating to actually experience them all now, although obviously my geography is nearly as old as the volcanoes themselves, so a little bit dated with my knowledge on that, but It is. As I said earlier, we actually ran part of the course, and it is spectacular, as you can see here. And I think it also sums up what the island is all about. Someone was chatting to us saying it's an island of microclimates, in that you can see that it's got forest, it's got mountains, it's also got beautiful beaches. So you can literally do anything here if you're a trail runner. You can get yourselves up in the mountains. And, so our camera, is that zooming in on a runner there?
Yes, it looks that way. And these are the early stages of the race, where we have this kind of broader fire road, which is always ideal when you have the early stages of a race, that there's just enough room for everyone to get clear of the hustle and bustle.
Yeah, well, like a track race, it's all about positioning yourself early on and not really using any energy, because as you will have seen or can see later, the finish is brutally difficult. It's a combination of very steep, very high, and very technical terrain, as in rock and roots. And so I'm just trying to see if I can see that runner. No, not at all. So we do have drones up, and we do have, as I said, 13 fixed cameras. But I guess this is in a national park, so there's quite obviously some kind of restriction on what you can and cannot do. And in fact, yesterday we were running with poles, and then reached a sign pretty early on that says do not use poles because this is a national park.
Yes, I believe they've labelled it a pole exclusion zone.
So, I didn't have any poles, so I was there we go. That's two team managers and a runner, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think for those who plan to tune in for the entire weekend, I think you are going to see a lot more of the action and of the various parts here of the national park, because the other races they will spend a lot more time as well here in the areas close to El Paso village, which obviously allows for much more camera work. As we said, there was going to be a few motorbikes, runners, to supplement the fixed cameras. But here in the national park area, they are operating under some restrictions, and of course signal when you get up in high remote places. Technology has improved, but there might be still a few years to go until we can get crisp, high-definition video from anywhere on the planet.
You just saw a well-populated finish line, though, actually. So I was quite impressed. I saw the British team managers there. So they managed to walk 45 minutes up to that. Well done. So there is a short route. It's actually, did we get the winning time? I don't think we saw the winning time. We ran up it yesterday in 1 hour and 6 minutes. So I think we were well behind the winning time.
Yes, although I think we took a slightly different route in places. But here we are seeing what appears to be the ceremony for Lucas Early. He's
being interviewed there, but I haven't got that sound yet. Looks suitably happy, that's for sure. Hopefully, we do have a part of our crew at the finish line. Yet to leave very early this morning at 7 a.m. to get there. Owen, hopefully we can pick up his commentary in a second or two.
Well, and Lucas here, he's a young man of only 17.
17, amazing. So that's really encouraging for him. It's the under 20 age group. He's got 2 more years, and 17. He's definitely at the start of his development in 2 years' time. He's going to be a hard runner to beat for sure in the next couple of years.
He's currently ranked only 73rd on the world ranking. So obviously a bit, you could say, perhaps a dark horse unless people had studied him more closely. But we should say, for people who are used to world rankings from other sports, in trail running, this is still a developing system because we have multiple different ranking systems. People participating in different leagues. So to actually feature on the World Mountain Running Association rank, you do need to participate in very specific races. So it can be deceptive sometimes with the position, can't it?
Yeah, the rankings at this level, they're almost irrelevant, I would say. If you don't run in the World Mountain Running races, it'd be difficult to be ranked, and yet you could be performing locally at an amazing level. These guys have been doing. And so, for instance, we spoke to the German team manager. She was very cagey yesterday about her chances, so she was rightly keeping it all low key. I mean, she was saying that there are no straight trials in Germany. It's just selected over a series of races, so to get a form guide, really.
Yeah, and different countries have different ways of selecting. You know, some countries go straight up trials. So if you don't get to the trial, even if you have great history, you're out. And this year affected, in fact, the French vertical champion, who you would think be a certainty to shoe in, but he just didn't have a great race on the day, and he was out. Whereas other nations here, actually, we are seeing Alvaro Ozanz, the silver medalist, and 2 years the senior of Lucas Oerle.
2 years older, wow, so he's going to be looking forward to his senior debut soon. And here we go, the first of the women, two together at the aid station, and both actually took a drink, which is interesting.
Yeah, they have arrived now. This is then, just to confirm with people, the 3 kilometer point on the route. So these runners have 2.3 kilometers to go, and they have another 300 meters vertical to climb from here.
So it's taken about 20 minutes to reach this point. So, and that's fast going on this early section. In fact, we had a debate about it yesterday. There are two really steep, there's Great Britain in third place, really steep climbs, which I think would be an option to walk rather than run.
I think what we might be seeing here is actually the effect of just a 30 minutes later start. You could see there the British runner was throwing water over her head. It may well be that the female runner's already feeling they're dealing with slightly greater sweat loss than the male runners 30 minutes earlier.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because the men went through that pretty quickly, didn't they, and didn't feel the need to stop. But clearly, when the first three take on water, you know that it's hot. So here we go on the fire road. So this is going to be a very interesting race for sure.
We've got the Norwegian runner in the lead. So we mentioned her at the start line there, Ida Valdal. And she is shadowed by what appears to be one of the Italians.
Yep.
Yes.
Number 114.
Number 114 is Axel Vicari.
Norway against Italy. And I mean, this is going to be very interesting. Sadly, our camera's not going to pick it up, is it? But on that last switchback trail, which goes on for about 1,500 meters, where it's all counting down, it's going to be difficult to pass.
And we have again here the younger athlete leading the older one. So Ida is an 18-year-old, and Excel behind her is 19. So looks like running in her last under-20s.
Aha. Here we go, number 107 from Great Britain. Fabulous.
She's looking very Charlotte Rostron.
Very comfortable, and I think we can safely say that that's 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, she does look to be well clear, and there's a look of fierce concentration on her face,
and also confidence as well. That you know that you've conquered. They would have run a little bit of the course yesterday, so they would have an understanding of what they're going to face in the last 1,500 meters or so. And here we go, just making a shoe choice for the senior men there.
Seeing one of the
Portuguese runner, Switzerland there. These guys start further back.
And Ebrikot Sakhana, the only representative from the Republic of Ireland in today's race.
So is straight uphill running popular in Ireland yet, or is that it's more of a specific continental skill, isn't it?
It really is. Like, there has been a few races in the Republic and in Northern Ireland, like the Moan Skyline have put on a little warm-up race in this format. A few clubs will put it on, but it really isn't embedded in the culture to the same degree. As I say, it's seen as very much a novelty, something to do when you just have to do something different. But as we know, all the runners really, the trail and mountain runners on the British and Irish islands just love descending.
Yes. So it should be interesting for the longer races, which has ascent and descent. And here we go, Switzerland.
This was Sina Schörling, one of two sisters racing, and this might be her sister there behind her. So we've got Sina and Anya Schörling, the two Swiss representatives, and that looks to be another one of yours, Paul?
Yeah, I think so. I think we've got Great Britain. I've got 3 through, I think. So
and here's the Slovenian runner. This is...
we could be looking at a gold medal for Britain.
Anna Novak, and this looks to be one of the Spanish runners.
And there's the official men's result.
So you're very good with your estimate there, Paul. 30:14 the winning time, and well clear of Jan Torella, who had 32:07, so he's nearly 2 full minutes clear. Marcus Villamora in third, and Finlay Grant in fourth, just missing out.
Yeah, he just couldn't get through on that sprint finish, could he? Just tumbled just off the side there, but
who wouldn't put their body on the line for a chance of a European medal?
Yeah, for sure. He won't have regretted going for it for definite.
This is Matilda Bonini of the. No, I'm not correct. That number says changed. So I was going to say that was Matilda Bonini of Italy, but it's clearly not. With the running in the red singlet and black shorts would be a Swiss runner.
So are the men's races starting in the centre of El Paso there?
Yes, we're actually very close to this location. Yeah. So we are sitting here in Crea Lab. We are just on the side to this. This is one of the main streets of El Paso City. As you can see, there is a huge finish line. So not only do we have the actual start and finish line, but you've got probably up about 10 large arches, calling out to the various race sponsors, nearly all of whom are local companies, or companies that seem to be active right here in the centre. You've got quite the long run-in, which will be tremendous tomorrow for the trail race and for the up and down races, so actually get the experience running back into town and hear the absolute din of banging. They have these little pong-pongs that we saw yesterday during the parade.
Yes, I think I enjoyed them for about 5 minutes, but then then it gets there. But, it's just like, here we go, and there's a Spanish team who are victorious. I'm going to suggest that they've won the team result there, do you think?
Yeah, I must say, I like to see, with all the effort the Spanish Federation has put into this, it's nice to see that they get rewarded instantly.
Yeah, and to me, it's no surprise. Yes, trail running in Spain is so established, and so everyone loves trail running in Spain. Indeed, shall we say the most famous trail runner on the planet is Spanish, Kilian Jornet.
Just to run through the team here, we've got Lier Barcons, we've got Alvaro Osanz, Fran Torella, and Marcos Villamuera are the gold medal winning team of this first European Off-Road Championship 2022.
Owen is speaking to them, but we can't pick it up at the moment.
No, Owen is going to do a lot of finish line interviews during this weekend, but I have a feeling the audio feed might not be quite strong enough.
Which is a shame, because Owen speaks absolutely perfect Spanish.
Yes, he'll tell you differently, with appropriate Irish modesty.
Let's see if we can pick up the live feed, maybe. Possibly hear it.
Muy bien, muy bien. Muy bien. Y Marcos, tercero hoy, creo, ¿no? Sí. ¿Qué tal? Podium en un campeonato de Europa.
Our simultaneous Spanish translation isn't quite strong enough, but there might be a summary coming our way of.
I hope so. I'm entranced by the finish line. It's just amazing. Just you can see over the left shoulder there. It's just incredible valley. So does the long race go through that valley tomorrow?
It will, yes. They're actually, I believe, passing by the finish line there, and then they're going to continue uphill for a little bit further before swinging left into quite a large circuit of the main national park. The area we're at here is at 1603, and you can see there as the location marker is showing us this area is towered by a peak called Bejenao.
Campeones de Europa, España. Enhorabuena, chicos. Felicidades.
I mean, it's so for the Spanish viewers there, I think it was fully in Spanish, but so Owen didn't do any of that in Irish for us, but possibly.
Well, that would have helped even less, Paul.
Well, possibly, though, I'm going to confidently say that Britain are about to win the under-20 women's race, so we could have an English interview there. Let's hope so. So
we can see the
from a purely patriotic point of view.
Oh yeah, having a base. We're here to support all the athletes, but it's hard when you grow up in a community when you know all the athletes personally to not just have a little bit of favoritism in your heart. We saw here that the men's race features a Maltese team.
Okay, well, you know, it's mountainous there, so not as mountainous as La Palma here, but so we introducing the teams one by one. There we go. There's Spain just taking their start line. Czech Republic. Nerves are jangling now. Watches are ready. I would suggest that most of them are wearing GPS watches, which will track their vertical climb. And their pace, although their pace is going to be pretty irrelevant. They're just going to go completely on feel. Switzerland there. So we've got about 30 runners, have we?
Yes, we have just over 30 runners. We've got as well, we saw one of the pre-race favourites there. Will be Henry Amanode from Italy, who is the second placed in the world at the moment. He's got a great history of victories on this scene, but also, of course, Jacob Atkins, the defending European champion from 2019.
Okay, yeah, he's been going very well this season. So I'm just looking at their footwear choices, and I see the Norwegian, I think, is wearing some carbon shoes, which will be interesting to see if they make a huge difference. They do on the road, but I'm not sure that carbon technology is fully got at home yet on the trails. We'll see. Those are the carbon shoes. It's difficult to tell exactly.
Yes, there's certainly a lot of different brands on display. Yeah, in an uphill race, this is probably where they show the greatest potential at the moment, because I think where the carbon shoes have problems sometimes is that because they have to be quite built up with fairly high heel-to-toe drop, it can cause a bit of extra instability, and you know that you wouldn't be too far away then from a twisted ankle on a trail coming out too fast.
Yeah, I think that is the main problem with shoes. I mean, sadly, we have to talk about shoes these days because they have made such a significant difference on the track and on the road, and they will make a difference on the trails eventually, but just not yet. I think shoe weight is probably more of an issue than actual carbon response. There we go. They're getting under starters' orders.
Seeing here as well, in the middle, the Italian team is being led out by Xavier Chevrier. He's the Italian champion, and the winner in 2017 on in the uphill only course in Kamnik, Slovenia. So he's another man who might be fancying his chances today.
Yep, I think though I'm going to boldly say it's an open field, and the title's going to go to the guy that feels the best on the day, and produces. But it's going to be. I'm particularly interested in the first 2 or 3 kilometres of this race. Is going to be very, very fast.
Yes, they can't go because they have this start line in the middle of the town. They just can't go straight into hard slope, and it does give the runners the chance here to really stretch their legs. But at the same time, it's very easy in such conditions to just put yourself a little bit too far into the red zone and not being able to recover that oxygen debt by the time you hit the real climb.
Yeah, it's a tricky one though, isn't it? Because you cannot go off slowly in this race because you can't burn it all in the first 2 kilometres. But we're so let me check my watch. So we're about a minute away.
To remind the listeners, this course is 8.9 kilometres long, and these runners will be climbing essentially a vertical kilometre, 997 metres of vertical climb.
I believe that's close enough for me to call that a vertical kilometre.
Yes, you'd think they could have found 3 metres somewhere.
I guess if they started further back, maybe at that bar we were sitting at yesterday, that might be maybe further uphill, maybe, I don't know. I can't quite remember.
Big smiles on the face here from the Norwegian Steen anchor Somerset.
Here we go.
Countdown is about to begin. 55 minutes is the expected winning time today.
I was going to ask that. So, because an 8.9 kilometre race on the road, you know, we could talk 23 minutes, 24 minutes, 25 minutes.
I should correct myself, Paul. I was looking on the other sheet. It's actually 65 minutes, so I was being a little bit unjustly optimistic.
This is vaguely uphill at the start.
See straight away, fast pace.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to watch them just positioning themselves, getting it ready. It's going to be 2 kilometres, I would say, of positioning themselves before we hit the trails in earnest. But, it's not unusual in trail running, is it? I mean, the world #1 trail venue is Chamonix, and they run, in the UTMB probably, 10 kilometres. The opening 10 kilometres are all on the road before they really start hitting the mountains. So the UTMB has more climbing than Everest, over 100 miles. So it's, I think 10k on the road just to warm me up is okay.
It is a clear benefit in some ways that you can connect the event to the locality that way. And you can attempt at least to try and get the local community really invested and engaged with the sport.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and the local community loves it here. We're just watching our Norwegian, I'm going to say, it's getting towards the end now. So that's our Norwegian leader, and she's
Valdal, I think the second runner is coming into view there, making a late charge, is one of the Italians.
Yeah, I would say it's stayed roughly the same for the last 2 kilometres, and we're looking, if the camera is the same as earlier, we're looking at the last 50 metres now, are we? So let's try and get an idea.
This actually appears to be this is the penultimate switchback.
Yep. And here we go, there's the gold medal.
She's looking over her shoulder, checking out that she's
gold
clear.
For Norway. Congratulations, well done, fabulous.
Heia Norge, as they say on those in this black part of the world.
Good job you're from Denmark, and we can get a little bit of a proper pronunciation from that. Well done.
It's a golden era for Norwegian athletics at the moment.
Yes, that's an understatement. Norway is incredible and winning European. And there we go, we've picked up a flag as well. That's fantastic.
We will get confirmation of which of the Italians it is here. We can't quite make out the number, but again, Italy, no surprise that they're in the medals. They have so many individual honours across all of the disciplines of mountain and trail running. Yeah,
it's interesting, René, you say about it is a golden era for Norway at the moment, isn't it? With the 400 hurdles and the Ingebrigtsen dominance in the middle distances. And I suppose, though, Norway has always had a tradition of mountain and distance running all the way back to Ingrid Christensen, Greta Weitz.
Yes, very familiar names to our older listeners.
Of which I am one. So there we go. There's bronze for Great Britain.
Very good.
That was a pretty much done deal from 3 kilometres. So she's
tiring there. Yeah, we can see a few stumbles and labour steps, but it is a very uneven trail here at the end, and
pretty high up.
Yes, as we were just crossing into 1,600 metres here. She knows she's clear, though.
Yeah, it's a definite bronze medal, fantastic bronze medal there. Possibly leading Great Britain to the team title as well, because we would good strength in depth behind.
So bronze medal for Charlotte Rostron. And finally she can get a bit of a breather.
Brilliant. Just having a word there with Sarah Roll, one of the organisers of the event, and there's the team manager.
Yeah, well-deserved hug. And she
can't believe it. A European bronze medal. I also very emotional moment for any runner. It's just very exciting.
And Charlotte Rostron as well is really, she's only 16.
16, unbelievable. So much power from a 16-year-old. That's just incredible.
And I hope she saved a bit of energy, because as I can see here in my notes, she's competing in the up and down race on Sunday.
Well, and that'd be a specialist area, running downhill, I can tell you. As a Briton, we definitely know all about running downhill. So technical. So you have to be really brave to be able to do it at any kind of pace.
Got the first Italian runner arriving, and for those of you,
Italy are winning the team currently.
So So that conservative start we saw early on, Paul, is really paying off. So maybe, listeners, please take notes for your next trail and mountain race. For those who are tuning in to kind of experience trail running for the first time, might be wondering, what's all this with the hunched walking gait on the steep slopes? It's actually, it's quite often, it looks awkward and it looks a bit strange for running purists, but you can, on a lot of slopes, you can take the pressure off muscles that have simply been overworked early in the race, and even on occasion move faster than someone running right next to you.
Well, you're not on occasion, almost all the time. It's a definite skill you need to learn if you're a trail runner. It's marathon runners on the road, kind of a crime to walk, isn't it? Not unusual, but in trail running, we didn't see it, but they must have walked one or two of the early hills. Having run them yesterday, or might I say walked them yesterday, it would be counterproductive to actually run them, I think. It's, some people do get the rhythm going, but it's very, very difficult. Here we go, the senior women just getting ready for their race, which is, where's our timetable?
So we can see here it's the Irish and Italian team. It's at 10:30, so we've got another 19 minutes for the start of this. There's plenty of time here for them to warm up. I believe we are seeing...
There's your Irish team.
Yes, the Irish team here. And we've got in view here, we've got Lisa Hegarty.
Oh, and there's a British athlete finishing 5th. So we've got 2 Italians in and 2 Britons. So it's the key player is the next, as in the all-team competition, the key player is the next runner. And
that was one of the Schurling sisters from Switzerland.
And there's the final British runner, or the 3rd British runner. So I think that's gold for Great Britain in the uphill, under 20 uphill.
Congratulations on order, Paul.
Yeah, thank you. I take all the glory for that. Having met them for 10 minutes yesterday in the town square.
This is an interesting warm-up technique. This is something that has gotten a lot of the deep squat here combined with some rotational poses. It's become a very popular both fitness, mobility and warm-up technique. It's not for everybody.
More importantly, here we go, as the drone has picked up the leaders in the men's race. So 1, 2 away, 3rd place within striking distance, and then it's very difficult to follow, isn't it?
But they do look to be absolutely hammering at this stage.
They're going very early, but it's relatively easy going at this. So there's no real breakaway there, but
it could be here an Italian leader. So
yeah, I think so.
Unless the pre-race favourite has been upset, this is likely Ori Amonot, who is saying he's currently the 2nd placed in the world. And he's shadowed by what appears to be, could be a Norwegian runner. And we've got a Slovenian in 3rd. And I imagine that is Timotej Bešaj, the Balkan champion, and also 4th in the world. So he was one of the pre-race favourites. So it appears so far. Some of the achievement we've seen in the 2022 season is shown. There's Zach Hanna sitting in 7th in the chasing pact for the podium. And he is surrounded by what appears to be...
This looks to be very quick
Swiss
going
team
at the moment. They're definitely moving along at a good clip at the moment, aren't they? So we do have a breakaway leader now on his own.
So whenever you see that in any sport, be it cycling or running, you wonder, is it going to cost him this early bravery, being the one to take the initiative?
Yeah, I think, these guys have run the entire course yesterday. Some of them have been out here a week, actually, to acclimatise. So they would definitely be running to a strategy, especially early on. You've got to keep it controlled on this, because this is very, in the world of trail running, this is very easy surface to run on. You can see it's we haven't hit the serious climbing yet.
Well, if this is Henri Amonot, it should be noted that he's a specialist in the vertical kilometre, and he was first in the WIMRA World Cup 2021. So he's only 26, but he's extremely experienced. He's been a biathlete, a skimo racer since childhood. So
okay. Yeah, cross-country skiing gives you just unbelievable strength, and it's not unusual for trail runners to use that skill. in the winter. Kylian Jornet is also a fantastic cross-country skier and, one of the greatest mountain runners ever. And so we're just watching. So they're just changing terrain slightly now. It is a little bit rocky at this section. Pretty much the rest of the way, I would say. He looks comfortable. He's just, as trail runners would, or hill runners would say, he's just tapping it out. He's got himself a perfect rhythm. And I don't think he's not, unless he's gone wildly wrong in his own strategy, I think he's going to be a tough runner to beat.
Yeah, he's looking good, and it's. We're speaking to some of the runners yesterday about this early section where it gets very uneven in bits. It's very hard to get a good contact, a good clean contact with the ground and get power and propulsion. So you really need to have the fitness, which these athletes do, to keep a high cadence. So you can just basically tap that rock before your foot gets turned and you really sink into the ground.
Do you think he spends just his entire life running on the mountain trails? Do you think he runs any track workouts or forest path workouts, or is just completely devoted to running off-road on technical terrain?
I would suspect with his biathlon background that he would use a bit of track work, but maybe a bit like the current female sensation on the trail running circuit, Henke Brinkman. It very much depends on what part of the season she's at. Actually, I think he's emerging here at the Cuesta refreshment point, and we're just going to confirm that we are in fact looking at Ori Moynot. So we have here number 225 is actually Cesare Maestri in the lead. So he's upsetting the pre-race favourite, and that's the second Italian is Andrea Roston, and here in 226 is Hannes Kirkman.
I'm hoping the camera work is going to be fantastic over the hill, because this is a fascinating race. It's so tight to call, and really we're talking they've already done a third of it probably, so this is where it's going to get really serious, and there's going to be some interesting manoeuvres on the tight paths to come.
Yeah, so the runners have covered these first 2.5 kilometers in just 12 minutes.
All uphill.
All uphill, and here we've got the Portuguese and Norwegian athletes coming in, followed by Slovenians, and I think that's the first of the Polish runners we have seen today. That's here Dominik Tabor.
This is a big field, actually, isn't it? So, and spread out over quite a large area already. So there's the junior women.
They might be in deep discussions about who actually won the team competition.
Oh yes, that's the Italian team by the looks of it. Just debating whether they've won it. Sadly, we don't have official results yet, and I think the team results aren't official until this evening, I think. Obviously, it's subject to confirmation.
So there was a change in the Italian team, I'm just hearing here, so that's why, although we had Ori Aimonot on the start list for the uphill race, he was actually not in the final four. So he might be saving himself for one of the races later in the weekend.
Well, that's just a special, just to test any commentators like us, is to just shuffle the team around. And
yes, we were given team sheets roughly a week ago, and then yesterday evening there was a revision. We did kind of expect that would probably happen, though, because a lot of athletes have entered 2, even 3 events.
Yeah, and it goes on feel, and as we've there we go, the Italians. Maybe the Italians have won the team prize.
It certainly looks like it.
It definitely looks that way, doesn't it? I'm sorry, my calculations are completely wrong. Well done, Italy. They're definitely the champions, I would suggest.
It's a little bit hard to make out there. But
yeah, they could just be, of course, celebrating. The official result, Italy was 2nd and 4th, is that right?
We saw there in the middle with wearing the number 114, that was the second placed runner, Axel de Carry.
We've got 10 minutes to the women's race, and that's the final race for the day.
We've got here, this is once again Lisa Hegarty warming up, some of the Portuguese runners in the background. And this is a crucial phase because sports science has come a long way from the times when you just rocked up to a start line and maybe did a few strides or shook out your legs a bit. Every single athlete will have their own routine. We see here some of these, I believe the B skips, going back to my athletics training memory. But the viewers and listeners will notice that nearly every athlete has a slightly different mobility routine. They do their strides at different times, but what they're all trying to do the same thing. They want to arrive at that start line feeling confident.
Yeah.
They want to feel that their joints are moving well. They want to have just the right level of tension in the muscles so that from the very first step they get a great energy return.
Yeah, what do you think? I've been reading recently about fueling on the move, and basically in the past you would fuel after maybe an hour of running, but now they're saying that you should really start fueling within sort of 20 minutes for a race that's going to last an hour, which this one will do. That you really could do with getting into carbohydrate gel on board as early as 3 kilometers in this race.
Yeah, there has been a bit of a shift to say that there's a benefit. You shouldn't take any sugar at all in the final hour because that'll actually trigger a sugar spike at just the wrong time, tricking your body into believing that there's plenty of sugar, which will cause what's called an early race crash. But if you do a very well-timed little bit of energy in the last 10 minutes, you avoid that, and you actually get the benefit of having that sugar ready in your bloodstream. Not every athlete in these types of short races, though, will take energy in the next stages of the race simply because of the pure intensity. So although it might be beneficial on paper, some athletes just won't take the risk of a stomach upset or a cramp or a stitch.
True, I think it's been more of an issue tomorrow in the longer race, but because this one will only, they've got water stations and probably electrolyte at various points, so the energy will be less of an issue, I guess. So we're really getting into the zone now. And
just Scout Atkin here in view. So she is the sister
she's a superstar
of Jacob Atkin. Yeah. So again, there's an example of a talent could run in the family on occasion.
Yes, she's a superstar for sure.
Did she win the English trial?
I think so. Yes.
This is a good area as well for the athletes. There's plenty of space here for the warm-up. They don't have to sit in a cramped cold room, as you would have done in your time, I imagine, Paul, and just wait to get unleashed to a place where you can...
Yes, very glamorously. You get to sit in a room underneath the stadium. I've run, all over in... for some reason, maybe because of the news, I remember sitting in a call-up room in Moscow. And, it was very grim. Very nerve-wracking. Whereas it's much better to be out, just burning just loosening up and getting yourself ready. So there's some Hoka shoes,
some compression socks.
Yeah. So I've just read that compression doesn't work. There you go. So the sports science is changing all the time, and I think that shows you that sports science possibly needs to really delve deeper into it, because if you wear compression socks, I think you feel like they do work. But there's mixed messages out there. The straight science says no.
I think it's often forgotten that with many of the rituals we have around any sport, the main thing for you as the individual athlete is whatever makes you feel most ready. Peter Schmeichel used to kick both goalposts and he put his chewing gum on one of them. Yeah. That just settled his nerves. So, whatever you need to do to get in the zone, if you then later read a study that says, actually it doesn't work, and you say, well, actually then I'll discard it, no loss to you probably.
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating area in sports science. I mean, as we were talking about earlier with the carbohydrates, I also read, that supposedly you could eat, no one is going to do this, but you could eat a full dinner right now and it wouldn't affect you. That's, strict science says that's probably is the case, but actually sporting tension suggests that isn't the case. So it shows you that, yes, that it's a mix. It's not a complete answer on compression socks yet, but I'm going to say that they are important.
It's a hard one to buy in a world where we're trying to shave a few grams off shoes and gear, that it wouldn't affect you what you eat before.
I know. I tell the athletes I coach that supposedly you could eat a full roast beef and Yorkshire pudding right now and then do 10 400s, and they always look at me like completely mystified. It's like, what are you talking about? I said, but that's just science.
Yeah. I believe it was the old coach, Arthur Liddy, in the 60s said that science just comes along to confirm what coaches have already figured out. And I know there will be one or two exercise physiologists listening to this who say, no, we have pioneered things. And of course, the truth is never so simple. But generally speaking, because it's such a competitive environment, as a coach and an athlete, you have to figure out what works and what doesn't. And you have to do it in an extremely complex environment where you can instantly see the results. And I think that is the best laboratory. Yes, it's not double-blinded, it's not placebo-controlled, but quite often coaches, the best coaches, are well ahead of the studies.
Oh, for sure, and they understand. I mean, as we're about to see in this race and as we've been watching in the men's race, everything is just individual anyway, and people are so different. They have different body shapes, they have different builds, but that doesn't mean that they're slower or faster. People are individual in their performances, and we can look at Ingebrigtsen, Jakob Ingebrigtsen, and the Norwegian superstar. Does he look tired when he's running? No, I mean but he's running 3:46 mile. I mean, just unbelievable pace. So everyone is individual, and I don't think sports science fully understands that or has the capability to look into that. Just looking at the Finnish lady there, I sat next to her on the flight.
Oh, very good. Did you get any tips?
No, she doesn't speak English.
Right.
Or she didn't. I didn't like to speak to her. She was very intense and hydrating all the time, and just understandably was nervous about. We were flying from Madrid to La Palma.
And it's understandable, because long flights is the bane of athletes everywhere. Because everyone who's flown for more than a few hours, you do come out of a plane more dehydrated, a little bit stressed, a little bit tired, and you have to ideally arrive a bit early so you can get your body fully rehydrated and mobilized. Just shake off any drowsiness, especially if you've come from one of the countries a bit further afield.
Yeah, and you don't want to be sitting next to a British guy anyway.
This is Maud Matisse, and I think we need to give her a mention. She is the pre-race favourite, and she's going for history here. If she wins today, she'll be the first ever female athlete to win 4 European Championships in a row, and she would match her perennial rival, Andre Meyer, who is also here in the field today, who holds 6 World Championships and already has 4 Europeans, but not in a row.
So this is going to be a fantastic race, isn't it? I mean, that's going to be interesting when we pick up the camera after about 10 minutes of running. It'll be interesting to see how the field has settled down there. To that point, I guess we'll all be in the same boat and not quite understanding who's going to be the early leader.
This is Andrea Meyer in view. So a very tall Austrian. Very experienced competitor at this stage. Been racing for well over 3 decades.
Incredible that she still has the same passion and drive.
Tell me though, Paul, what's the story with Kate Avery?
Well, she's an interesting athlete. That she's turned from track and road and cross country and turned that undoubted speed and strength into she's turned herself into one of the best mountain runners in the world. She just has a passion for running off road and running trails. So many runners do. Track runners don't just run on the track, do they? They run off road and in the hills, and she just got the bug, if you like, that so many people have. So we'll see her. She's going to be a name to watch in this race for sure.
And there she is, Kate Avery, with a number 3:16, and of course as well she's got 3 cross-country gold medals, 1 in the under-20 Europeans and 2 senior Europeans, so she has a bit of off-road pedigree.
Oh yeah, I mean, I noticed she won the British Trail Running Championships in the Forest of Dean last autumn. Won easily, so in a fast time as well, on much easier trails than this, I have to say, but she's turned her undoubted strength and speed into. It's not an easy skill to learn. She's got great ankle strength, great mobility, great concentration. She's turned all of that into... she's going to be a competitor in this race.
Yeah, the countdown has begun now in the background. A final runner to look out for today, we believe, is the number 314, Christelle Deval, the 6-time French vertical K champion.
Okay, well, we're going to find out in an hour or so who is the European champion running uphill. Here we go, vertical kilometre underway.
We've got an official, it appears, starting off with the field.
Yes, possibly. It's keeping them under control at the back now.
So in terms of the teams here who will be hoping to win medals, we have got the Czechs are here with a full team, Great Britain is with a full team, Germany has more than 3 scorers, as well as Italy, Norway, Slovenia and Switzerland. So this should be quite an interesting team competition.
Okay, no 3 scorers for Austria?
No, unfortunately, Andrea Meyer is the sole representative of that particular Alpine nation.
That's interesting, isn't it? I wonder why. It could be that they're all entered in the longer race. Interesting.
We were mentioning earlier that 9 of their recent titles have come from Austria or Switzerland. But in fact, if you go just 3 or 4 years further back than that, 11 out of 12 titles have come from people who grew up in countries neighbouring the Alps. So maybe we all need to move to the Alps.
Well, it's quite nice there for sure. And I mean, I've visited Chamonix many times in France. It is a fabulous place to visit. I imagine it's an amazing place to live. So just watching the Spanish.
Yeah, it looks like he is waiting for news.
Yeah, difficult to translate there. What's exactly happening? Just a cameraman practicing, I think.
Yeah, certainly a
he
pensive.
Looks nervous.
Yes, there's a pensive look. Maybe they're waiting for news on the team competition. Let's get a bit of a close-up here of the local vegetation. The famous Canarian conifers.
Yeah, so test us on those. And the microclimates.
Yeah, we've got here the open part of the course, so it'll be a little while now until we see the men and women's uphill. We know the men passed the 2.5 kilometer aid station now nearly over 10 minutes ago. So they should be well on their way to the second aid station, which is at the 6.5 kilometer point. So there's only 2 kilometers to go when they will arrive there. So that should really give us a good indication. Here's the final results of the Elite Under 20 female race. So as we saw, Ida Valdal of Norway in a fine time of 23:37, only 4 seconds clear of her Italian rival Axel Vicari. And then we've got Charlotte Rostron, followed closely by her teammate.
Just looking at the live tracking, I think we're at about 1,000 meters maybe in the men's race. No, that's not right. Sorry. It's a slow update.
If we get the update again, here, it was Eve Whittaker in 4th. So that we had a Brit in 3rd and 4th. We'd got 2 Italians, 5 and 6. But the British in 7th and 10th. With 2nd, 5th and 6th. No, yeah, the Italians did win with a total score of 13, with the British team on 20 points.
Fabulous. So it's just changed in that last 500, 800 meters, didn't it? I think Italians came through to take a brilliant gold medal.
And the Swiss, the 2 sisters, basically neck on neck in 8th and 9th. 2 family members in the top 10.
I wonder which one is a favourite at home.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting discussion, I'd say, over lunch later, or over as we've seen, very late dinners they have here.
Well, we are in Spain, of course, so dinner at 10 o'clock tonight. They looked a bit mystified when we had dinner at 7 in a Northern European style.
But that is something the athlete will be watching, because I think each athlete has, when they know the start time of a race, they have a preference for when the last meal has to be the day before.
Yeah, they've said the hotel is fantastic though, with as much food as they want and just a perfect buffet. So they're very happy with that. So I'm just looking there I can see the check station, checkpoint, but still early, I guess, for the men.
Yes, it should be a little while yet until we see the men. I believe they were showing. They're still showing us the Cuesta refreshment station at 2.5 points. So if the women are only a slightly bit slower than the men, we would expect them there in around 5 to 7 minutes. And that'll give us a good indication there of how the women's race is progressing. Whether we'll see a similar story to the men's race. In the men's race, the Italian was leading it out strong, but behind him it was very close. Really everything to play for.
Oh yeah, it's completely this is an open race in the men's race, which is how European athletics should be, shouldn't it? I mean, yes, there's always going to be a favourite, but equally there are plenty of people that have done, putting in 100, 150 kilometres a week in the mountains, and just getting ready for the premier event of the year, basically. So it's just an interesting question. You're a coach. Do you think you would run 160 kilometres a week preparing for a mountain race, or is it slightly less, or just individual?
Well, individual is probably the short answer. But what we know that all of these athletes run high mileage, but the exact number will vary hugely, especially because a lot of the alpine athletes will pack in a serious vertical in their week, and a lot of them have actually, they have developed to a point where they go purely by hours and minutes. They don't really look, and the vertical, but they don't really look at the kilometers. We do know that Brinkman was talking in a recent interview, say, as a marathon runner, she was running roughly 180 kilometers a week, and she actually would step down a bit when she started preparing for the trail running season, and she'd only run 100 miles a week.
And here we go. Here's the so it's all changed at the front. That's I'll let you identify them.
It's a Swiss runner as far as I can see.
Switzerland.
So let's see, can we catch a glimpse of the number? The Swiss have
all change at the front.
There's 4 Swiss runners in the race. There's 2 Spaniards coming there, and that looks to be Zach Hanna in 4th. The Irish are going to be very excited about that. He had a great run at the Montemurro World Cup race a few weeks ago.
Ireland 4, Italy 5, Great Britain 6.
Now
then the pack.
Then the pack, yeah. So we missed the early leader. He's still here. Hannes Perkman. Hannes Perkman which is a Finnish name. It's quite interesting.
That's interesting, yeah, that is. You're right.
So I wonder what the family history is there. But
so he's into his rhythm now, and he looks like that's a done deal. It's not so far from here, is it? That's a big lead he's got. That's a very big lead.
That is a big lead. It could be decisive because, as we were saying earlier, it's 6.5 kilometres in at this point. There's only 2 kilometres to go.
Yeah, and very technical terrain that no one can pass him on anyway, I don't think. So,
and it is difficult on a gradient like this to close a gap that size.
Yeah.
It requires much more effort than closing a similar gap on the flat.
So number 247, Switzerland.
So 247, we have conveyed. That is Dominic Rolly.
Fantastic, and here we go, Spain in 213.
That is Diego Diaz.
Well done.
So he's not actually the pre-race favourite for the Spaniards, who had Miguel Cabrera, the vertical champion of Spain, in the race. But we've got Zach Hanna then, so Zach Hanna is sitting in 5th position.
He's having a fantastic race.
Oh, he would be delighted with that. A top 10 for an Irishman in the Europeans these days is a real achievement.
Yeah, because it's politely, it's hilly in Ireland, but it's not mountainous. I mean, yeah, okay, there are some low mountains, but it's not alpine.
It's not alpine, and it's a small country as well. Barely 5 million people, and there've only been one international champion, which was of course John Lenihan in the short race in the 1991 World Championship.
1991. So it's strung out now, isn't it? I mean,
the climb has done its work on the field at this stage.
I wish we had the camera slightly lower down. I'm fascinated to know whether the section that we definitely walked, whether it's runnable or not at the top end. It must be.
Here we can see the ladies are coming towards the end of that fire road as we see where they transition onto the slightly rougher trail and into that first aid station. They're running, the leaders here running 10 minutes. I think it's Maud Matisse sitting in third with her old rival, Austrian Andrea Meyer, behind her.
Do you think that's Kate Avery in second?
I would suspect so from the singlet. So we just need to make out.
That's 4 away, isn't it? I mean, again, this is early days, but I would suggest that this is the 4 in the hunt for 3 medals.
Could it be Scout Atkins leading Kate Avery?
It could be. It's difficult. I mean, it's impossible to tell.
But certainly they look to be nearly like a breakaway pack in the Tour. They look to be working together. And it's so important in a race like this. If you can just keep within a meter or two, you can feel the energy of the runner ahead of you. And it is like that invisible string that's often referenced.
Oh yeah, I ran a vertical kilometre a few weeks ago, and I was going okay, and then a guy caught me, and I thought, oh, I'll just run with this guy for the next 500 metres or so. But that piece of string just went out too long instantly, and he disappeared. And you're right, working in the pack is so much easier. You just need to make that difference. So we've got Portugal in. Do you think that's Portugal?
Yes, it appears to be Portugal, not, as I first suspected, Andrea Meyer.
Oh, so it's all change at the top then. Austria dominance is over.
Yes, but they still have the Swiss to try and get glory for the Alpine nations, although I'm sure, a lot of the people who are listening here to the English stream will definitely be hoping for a victory for Team GB today.
Yeah, of course. Only from my purely personal commentary point of view.
Well, as a lot of there's a lot of history, between the Irish and English nations, but I do know that there seems to be good camaraderie between the British team and the Irish team, and there's this shared kinship of racing on very similar terrain. As we have these low hills, and these competitors here at the front, most of their training has to be done on hills below 1,000 meters.
Oh yeah, I mean it's all in basically foothills, isn't it, for the British and Irish? So I'm just watching the rhythm there. They're just
look at the change on Kate Avery.
Yeah, that's
Andrea Meyer using the strong stride. Walking stride.
Yeah.
And the Portuguese runner thinks, well, she's got the experience, she's got the titles.
So that's an interesting use of energy there, isn't it? So we've got running at the front end, but definitely having to just reduce slightly to a walk.
What it could indicate, Paul, is that Scout Atkins is simply feeling better at this stage, and the others had to work really hard to just keep up with her until this point.
Yeah, it could be. It's early days yet, of course, but so I can see there's a water station just up the top of the hill there, and the fixed camera, which will give us a confirmation of the actual runners, rather than our
wild speculation.
Speculation at the moment. Always good to speculate, but she's made a move there, hasn't she? So
she certainly has, but now it looks like Kate Avery's using her natural speed from the track to try and her long strides to try and close in here on the easier, flatter section.
Yeah, I'm going to say that Kate is going. Yeah, she's just going to have a faster Kate. Here we go. So we're going to know their numbers very quickly.
And we see an Italian is starting to join this lead pack.
So we've got.
This is
315.
315. Yeah, it is Scout Atkins in the lead.
Scout from 316, Kate Avery. 316 in second.
Just imagine if we could have a Scout Jacob double. What an achievement that would be for the family. But one thing at a time. Here is Maud Matisse, and 303 is Milica Mirchiva from Bulgaria. So not a Portuguese athlete. 313 is Susanna Sapunki from Finland.
And yeah, that's the first French woman that we've seen. French athlete, in fact.
And here the German athlete, Dominika Meyer. And now we have a little bit of a gap.
So this is the important team competition now, and it's important to keep the rhythm and keep the concentration, and just keep running hard, because the team medals are definitely up for grabs still.
We had Giselle Slotsboom from the Netherlands there before Holly Page. So she's the lone Dutch representative. And here we've got one of the Portuguese runners. But yeah, she's one of these people who, she's even worse off than the British and the Irish, because she has no hills at all in her native Netherlands to train on.
It's quite flat, the Netherlands.
305 and 308 here are representing the Czech Republic. So that's Pavla Shona Matsova and Adela Stranska.
Norway.
For Norway, there we had Annie Bersagel. Another Norwegian just skirting that Italian runner. And another of her teammates here arriving, that is Nora Marcus. And
there's your iron.
Yes, here we saw her warming up earlier. That's Sophie Daly. She's quite a newcomer on the Irish trail running scene. She's won a lot of the local races, and obviously she went to the trial race and managed to get in.
So Bulgaria got quite a good team looking at it there. I've seen a few Bulgarians go through. I don't know much about trail running in Bulgaria. Is that? Oh, here we go.
Yeah, okay, so here we've got the elite men's race. That looks like that is at the penultimate checkpoint at 7.5k. So that's 33.33, which kind of tallies with the winning time roughly at the hours. We've got Cesare Maestri followed by Dominic Rolli of Switzerland, Daniel Ozans, who was heavily favoured, ahead of his compatriot Michael Corbera, who is the Spanish vertical kilometre champion. And we have got Sakana in fifth. Could he make a late charge for the podium? He has 23 seconds. It is 2 kilometres, 23 seconds when there's still over 200 metres vertical.
Yeah, it's very tight there, and definitely, anyone feeling strong is gonna make a big difference. If you're running that last 10 minutes with any kind of strength, you can really cut through the pack.
Here's Dominika Valant of Slovenia. And behind her, I believe we may have one of the Danish runners. I think it was 3:24. She didn't take the water.
Yeah.
We're looking towards the end of the field now. 3:24.
I mean, well done to the organisation here for not giving the water, but it's the tidying up afterwards that is so important to events like this and trail running generally. It's hugely. I think there's someone dropped out there.
Yeah, it looks at whether it's injury or simply that the early pacing was just too aggressive, and she realised there was just no way to continue in any kind of meaningful state.
No, sadly, if you drop out, there is only one route for you: back down. That's a disadvantage of trail running.
Yes, I'm sure she's going to walk off a disappointment, and I imagine she will start jogging. And
yeah, actually, it's an interesting point. I presume the under 20 men and women, are they jogging down recovery back to the start line, or are they going down the other way? The way that Owen, the commentator at the finish line, he walked up a back route. I wonder how they're getting back.
Yeah, I would imagine that they are going to they will basically be led out a corridor to the nearest trailhead, and I'm probably going to use that as their cool down run, get the lactic acid out of the system, and there'll be cars waiting there to shuttle them back to the start line area.
It still made me laugh yesterday. I mean, we ran nearly 2 hours yesterday with the Swiss team, and you think, that's a long run the day before an actual race. But obviously we were going very, very, very...
They were going very slowly because we actually managed to catch up with them.
Yes, well, don't dampen my glory there. But yeah, I've told all the athletes I coached that I trained with the Swiss team yesterday. They were amazed by it. But there was a lot of walking and inspecting going on as well.
And here I think we are seeing the leader of the men's race coming into those final switchbacks, and he's not having anything with the flag.
Oh.
He wants to stay unperturbed as he goes into. Doesn't take anything for granted. I kind of like to see that in a competitor.
Yeah, it's fabulous though. Then it's a fantastic victory. He's looked like he's going to win from as early as 2 kilometres.
He showed here that this is the Prefontaine school of tactical running. Go to the front and stay there.
Now, Steve Prefontaine, how old are you? Even I struggle with Steve Prefontaine.
Cesare Maestri. Sorry, Cesare Maestri
Fabulous.
is the
European
men's
champion.
uphill European champion 2022.
Brilliant.
What a performance, and here congratulations from the team manager. And the this is a supporter, but we already now have the second runner coming into view.
Well, he's closed up a lot.
This is the Swiss.
Great finish.
And that looks to be Dominic Rolli held his position in second. And we just need confirmation now. Which of the two Spaniards in close pursuit? Was it Diego Diaz?
213 is third.
So this is Daniel Ozanz. There was a lot of talk among the local Spanish that they did rate his chances in this race.
Oh, you're Irish.
Oh, Sakana.
Oh, he can't.
So close.
He's not going to be able to pass.
No, the Spaniard had him clocked. The cheeky look over the shoulder, but fourth, the worst position. What?
No, I think he's fifth.
Fifth,
but a fantastic finish.
It was a great finish.
6, 7 for Great Britain, 8 for Germany. 9.
We have another Italian, so again
Italy 10.
This is the
Switzerland 11. Is that 3 Swiss in?
Yeah, I think I count 3 Swiss now. Must be 3 Italians.
12, another Italian.
And here we have a supporter. So hopefully he has clocked that we have a Norwegian athlete, Steen Somerset, is coming up from behind. First of the Norwegian contingent.
Well done, Norway. So we're thinking Switzerland for the team title as a rough speculation that we've got wrong completely 100% of the time so far. So sorry, Switzerland, if I'm going to say you've won.
We won't get their hopes up prematurely.
Well, you don't know how I operate. We're going to say Switzerland have won. Apologies in advance.
I think we have an Austrian, most of the Austrian athletes there.
201. Can't see that one, sorry.
So we're 201 there. Was one of the two brothers, there's two Austrian brothers running, Hans-Peter and Manuel Innerhofer.
More family, great.
And I think we might have had a chat with them yesterday on the trail. Among the many teams scouting the course were the Swiss and Austrian teams.
Yeah, a little chat with the Swiss guys. They like I said, they were just really out for a day's sightseeing.
Tenía que salvarlo, porque era la vida, nuestra historia. No quería, no pude, no quería mirar a otro lado. Cada día de esos 4 meses me levantaba por las mañanas y la única misión que tenía era venir a sacar arena y evitar que nuestras casas, nuestros negocios se vinieran abajo. Y ha habido mucha humanidad y mucha ayuda entre todos. A mí lo que me llenó realmente el día que abrí el bar fue la sonrisa de la gente. Fue el verle sonreír nuevamente. El que no había sido una guerra ganada para mí, había sido una guerra ganada para todos. Es lo que me hace sentir que todos los esfuerzos que hice han merecido la pena.
No hemos pasado nada más fuerte de todo lo que es capaz de hacer la naturaleza que el volcán. Porque eso era fuerza pura y dura saliendo del suelo, ahí, del centro de la tierra, para arriba, botando y llevándose todo lo que podía por delante. Justamente detrás de casa, más cerca imposible. Y nada, lo primero que piensas es eso, en que hay que seguir, en que somos duros y en que tenemos que estar siempre hacia adelante y hacia arriba, siempre. El deporte en este momento de mi vida es crucial. Yo era luchador desde los 6 años hasta los 33. En la lucha te caes te tienes que levantar, tienes que volver a agarrar, no vale quedarse en el suelo, siempre tienes que volver otra vez a empezar. En el CrossFit es algo por el estilo, siempre vas a llegar al límite y buscas siempre pasar de ahí. La reventón fue igual, todo fue cuesta arriba y había que seguir. El volcán es otra prueba que hay que superar, otra cuesta que hay que subir, otro entreno que no se puede dejar a media, otra carrera que hay que acabar. Y la relación que yo le veo a las 4 cosas esas ahora mismo en la vida de mi familia es pasarla otra vez y pasarla otra vez. No queda otra, porque si nos quedamos no sirve.
Yo con el volcán usé el mismo sistema que uso en una carrera de larga distancia. Valor, cabeza, control, objetivo. Pues con el volcán era lo mismo. Yo cada vez que venía aquí lo miraba y le decía que tendría paciencia, pero que un día yo iba a estar por encima de él. Y el reventón, la carrera, va a ser la primera que me lo empiece a permitir. El reventón está dando un motivo de vida a este pueblo que ha sufrido tanto.
Que todo esto vuelva otra vez y se haga una carrera como esta, es como ver un poquito de luz ya al final del túnel ese que se nos estaba haciendo ya un poco largo. Por eso todos tenemos ganas de hacer y todos tenemos ganas de apuntarnos y de ir, porque se echaba de menos todo eso ya.
Para mí correr es vida.
And we're back here at the start line in El Paso. So what you just watched there is an interesting program started by the race that is hosting this championship, which is it's called Reventon El Paso. The Reventon El Paso is a mass participation series of 4 different races, most of which are quite similar to the events that the European Championship runners have taken on. All of those events will happen tomorrow, so we're going to have a really busy day scheduled. We're going to have the long 47k European Trail race as well as 4 mass participation races. But just before we continue talking on that, we see here with the 225 Cesare Maestri with his well-deserved gold medal.
He's talking to Owen at the moment in
super happy.
Italian, presumably?
Presumably. I don't know how far Owen's language skills go.
Was there anything that you did different this season in your training, in your preparation, that maybe gave you that extra edge to win the gold medal today?
Yeah, I think I'm not so different from previous years, but this time I wanted a lot this result because after two missing years, I know this gold was waiting for me, and so I did everything for a race here, and yes, I had also a difficult period in this winter for an injury. So this gold last 10 days was not the best days for me because I had a little problem. So it's I want it very with all my energy.
Wow, well, you did so well today. Italy, of course, has such a wonderful history and a wonderful tradition in this championship as well. Can you rest now for the weekend, or are you running another race over the course of the weekend?
Yeah, for today I want to rest and also do a little party to relax myself. But on Sunday I have also the up and down race, so I want to do my best also on Sunday.
Okay, listen, thank you so much for talking to us after the race. A wonderful European champion. Yeah. Italy's such a strong nation over the years in the European Championships, and they have another gold medal to their name now. Well done, Cesare. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye.
Can I ask a quick question? Do you have the time?
Well, it was a great story. He's been injured for 10 days, did he say? Well, he's just returned.
Yeah, he said a problem. He wouldn't go into more detail than that, but he It was great to see his delight. He was actually second in the recent national up and down trial in Italy, and to see he has to go home now and do a little bit of a party and then rest up because he's doing the up and down race on Sunday.
Yeah, and that automatically makes him one of the favourites now. He looks so strong. Of course, descending is a very different skill, so we'll see. But I guess, you know, he's going to be there or thereabouts at the halfway point when he starts the descent.
Yeah, you would fancy his chances, and especially if he did well in the up and down trial in Italy. Now, actually, we're seeing here the final results again of the ladies under 20 race. So just to remind again, any late joiners here, we see Ido Valdal of Norway was the gold medalist.
Yeah, she looked strong all the way and basically established an early lead and controlled the race and ran it as she wanted to, I think.
Yes, you never know really what goes on in their minds and what the plan was, but it's been the theme of most of these races so far is that we've seen a leader break away before the halfway point and hammer home essentially with a good gap. So it'll be the up and down course will be slightly more tactically interesting in that way because it's more unpredictable.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you got to, downhill running is such a skill. Supposedly, you look 2 meters in front, and your brain will identify the obstacle, and your foot will automatically change position. But it's having the confidence to do that because plenty will, and they will be moving at a very, very fast speed. So
I think what we're seeing here, Paul, is the elite under the female scores for the teams. So it was 11 points for Italy, 6 points clear of Great Britain.
Yeah, yes, that was my miscalculation there, thinking that Great Britain had won that. Clearly, Italy won it comfortably.
If any casual viewers are wondering, how do they score this? You see here the elite under 20 men's team results with Spain on 15 points, Italy on 24 points, Great Britain, or Reino Unido, as they say down here, 25 points. There was only 1 point in it between Italy and Great Britain, and the Czech Republic is for the 6 points back. It's actually just scored on your position.
Yes, so, lowest wins, basically. So, if you can get first, second, and third, that's 6 points. And an unbeatable. There's the men's result.
This, as we saw earlier, young Lucas early, the German. Fairly comprehensive win with nearly 2 minutes clear of the Spanish.
He looked so strong as well, didn't he? Especially on the fire road when they really got into their finishing rhythm there. He could tell that was it. It was game over from that point, and no chance of him losing from there. Well done to Finlay Grant for a fabulous fourth place, falling on the rocks as well. And I think actually the Italian Elia, he fell as well in that last 100 metres.
Here we have the elite women's top 10, as we saw just earlier there, and we can see to look at a bit of the secondary positions between the top 3, we had Emily Bucimillo of Italy. She was a good bit off the podium. There wasn't really any chance she was going to catch up late on. She's nearly over a minute and a half off. The Italians were well packed there in the top 10.
Yeah, do you think... So I come from an American college background where running as a team is hugely important. And in fact, we spent all of the autumn or the fall, as they call it in America, training as a team to run together. Do you think teams run together here, or is it very individual?
I think it's more individual, but we'll just, since we get this on the board, the uphill finish times. So we see the Cesare Maestri won the uphill mountain race in 44:48. That is much, much faster than the prediction. As you can see, there really wasn't much in it in terms of the podium. Mikel was only 25 seconds off, and Sakana only another few seconds there.
Didn't you have the prediction down as an hour?
They did. They were clearly...
Good job we didn't go for a cup of coffee, wasn't it?
If I was an optimist, they were clearly pessimistic. But to answer your question, we don't seem to see as much pack training as you would in, let's say, an NCAA cross-country squad, which also has the luxury of spending a lot of time together. because most of these athletes have their own sponsors, their own commitments. They might be coming from all over the country, which in some countries could mean significant distances. And as we know as well, runners are a bit of a selfish sort. We have our own goals, our own priorities.
Oh, for sure. It was an interesting dilemma, isn't it, when you're running, you're individually here at the European Championships, and the team result is hugely important. And, you know, ironically, the most important thing when you stand up on the podium at the end. But it's almost a byproduct of your individual performance, whereas at the NCAA, it's the opposite way around. They do run together and you train together. You run under strict instruction. I was just wondering if the team managers would say that in an event like this, but it would be so difficult to implement.
It would, especially here with the national teams, because what we're really seeing in trail running and road running now is a development similar to what we've seen in pro cycling. You know, that more and more of the team aspect revolves around these corporate sponsorship teams who have the big money. So we see Team Hoka, Team On, Salomon, of course. There's some runner was saying in the recent Golden Trail Series event that, you know, for him, signing for Salomon was like signing for Manchester United for a soccer player.
Just United, anyway, whatever. We won't go down that route. But,
no, we will, as I say, never discuss religion, politics, and football.
So I'm just seeing that I think the cloud has dropped slightly at the finish line there. Maybe, I don't know. It's very hard to tell from camera work.
You can see Diego Diaz as well, who was making his way down, and it looked like he was making his way down the way he came up.
Yeah, which I suppose the trail is wide enough. You know, it's also a good ready-made crowd for the women now. Who must be. So they've got 15 minutes to run. Do you think?
Yeah, so we had them start off now 36 minutes ago. So with the men coming in 44, we are probably talking towards the 50 minutes, which would put a finishing time around 11:20. So as I say, if you are into the morning cup of tea, this is the time to put the kettle on. And then settle in here back with us for that final battle. We can see now that it's getting quite congested up there with all the finishes. And I imagine what most of them will want to hang around now to clap their female team members across the line.
It's making me smile. Seeing it so busy there, and it's so remote. I mean, if they see 20 people a year there, that'd be some kind of miracle. And here we go.
We have, this is the Bejenao support station, and it looks to be still
Scout from Kate.
Yeah. Scout Atkins, well, as we said, did she sit down with her brother Jacob and say, I'm going to do my job, Jacob, and it's up to you to defend your title and bring 2 trophies home to the family household.
Here we go. So we should pick her up in a matter of seconds, I think, around this corner from the stationary camera.
Yeah, these are the very long switchbacks. We quite enjoyed them yesterday because, as I said, the gradient isn't quite so unrelenting, and you have lots of space to move here. The surface is reasonably good, so you can get a lot of power into your stride. There's to chase the Maud Matisse. Or has Maud Matisse actually moved ahead? It's a little bit difficult to see here from the angle we're getting.
Yeah.
But she's certainly powering along.
She's the leader. She's the leader.
So this does suggest that Maud Matisse has lived up to her pre-race billing.
Wow, so she's run a fantastic central section there, hasn't she?
Her characteristic and ever-present headband.
So she has run brilliantly from the middle there. So it's all changed, isn't it?
And here we've got Andrea Meyer. So again, she came from nowhere. She was nowhere to be seen on the early footage.
This is interesting. It's changed so dramatically.
So that really is the experience coming out, but because between them, that looks to be Scout Atkins. They have moved past her. So just youth and inexperience punished slightly there, Paul.
I guess I don't know that it's inexperience. I would say just superior strength has seen out the day there. So it was a tricky section from where we saw them on camera last to this point. Quite steep, and definitely, as I've chatted about, it probably involved some kind of power walking or some kind of running economy to really make the most of those hills.
Yes, we did see when the transition happened from the early fire road to the tricky terrain, straight away the alpine athletes went into that strong walking gear, whereas Scout Atkins, she powered on, and maybe in hindsight, that could have been the better strategy to do that, just change it up, and shift the loads onto different muscles, keep them fresh for later in the race.
Yeah.
You can see the German athletes feeling it as well, they get tense in the arms at this stage, the whole body just has to work to get up the hill.
Yeah, this race is essentially over, though, I would say, in that it goes on to the switchback paths following this, doesn't it? The tighter switchback, so it'll be very difficult to pass. And this is Kate, she's superior speed, but not her day today, I don't think.
No, but hopefully she will look at this and say, well, I learned a lot about she's done a lot of international competition, but not on courses like this.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of running, isn't it? It's learning, we don't all just turn up and win. So Kate has enjoyed some victories and at lower level races, if you like, and even at national level. And then she's going to go away from this. Go away from this and learn what's required in a European mountain race. Many different techniques and skills.
This is Holly Page here, who ran very well in your trial.
Yes, Holly is. She's a fantastic runner.
Believe under 20 steeplechaser.
Yes, that's correct. She's turned from the track as well, and I suppose we can talk steeplechase and trail running. Are they similar? I suppose not really, but close. They're as close as you're going to get. It's the change of rhythm in a steeplechase, isn't it, that really sets it apart on the track.
You see another little trip there. So even though we were saying the surface here is quite okay, there are a lot of rocks on it. And as you get tired, you can just spend that little bit more on the ground. See here, you can see the stride gets a bit awkward and broken up. And it's a vicious cycle because as you get tired, you feel this more.
Yes, secretly, I'm quite pleased to see people stumbling a little bit because I ran this section yesterday and struggled horribly because it's the rocks are. Your stride pattern is lowered. Your foot lift is not as high as it was early on, and you're just going to hit rocks. Which trail running shoes? This is where trail running shoes really come into their own because they do have toe guards and protection from exactly that.
Yes, when the whole minimalist movement came out a number of years ago, one of the first things that people noticed was problematic is to run a technical course like this at speed if you don't have those basic protections. There's one thing doing it controlled and slow, but here where you have to bring your body to the edge and you're not going to be at your best towards the end of the race.
No, and you need to have that in your mind. I mean, you need to have that technique and skill ready because it's an important part. Otherwise, you're going to, it's not unusual for people to fall over. You're going to fall over. So that's just someone jogging back down, I guess.
It looks that way, but we are getting here the 9 teams. What a great team competition for the uphill mountains. We got Italy with 17 points, Switzerland with 22, Spain with 35, and Great Britain pipped to the podium 47 points, then Norway on 65, Slovenia 65, Portugal 71, and Poland and the Czech Republic round out the team scorings with 91 points and 94 points. So only 5 points in it, really, between Italy and Switzerland.
Let's get my day going, though, because I predicted Switzerland to have won, and it's Italy. So congratulations, Italy. And so you can take that from whenever I say the team that's won, they'll definitely be second.
Yes, we won't do that. We saw bookies down the corner here, Paul. So I won't be bringing you down there after this.
Yeah, I won't be playing the lottery tonight either.
We must be getting close to seeing the back part of the ladies' field here on this section. It looks to be a Norwegian and a Swiss runner, and now
here we go. So we're going to get into the final 400, 500 meters. There's a 500 meter sign just out of shot there, which normally that's quite encouraging to see, but that's still quite a long way to run on this terrain.
Yes, as even when the first time you try a track race, you might have the impression, I have 400 meters. Once I hear the bell, it's not such a long way. But those last 400 meters could feel very long. So imagine here, 500 meters with nearly 100 vertical on top of it.
I know it's a very tough climb, that last bit, but I mean, at least from the leader's point of view, it's kind of a done deal. Once you've reached that last section, to pass you is going to be very, very difficult because you will use so much energy to get to you anyway.
And as we saw with near disastrous results earlier, when one of the great British runners was trying to get a podium. And we are just returning here to some footage of yesterday's Race to the Stars, so the Subida de las Estrellas. You can see here there was a fully head-torch guided run, and here the celebrations at the top when they arrive for the unique Canarian starscape that we talked about at the start of this call. And we're moving a bit further up in time. This is footage from the last event of the Reventon El Paso. So this is the mass participation race, 4 distances, starting from the sprint, a mere 17 kilometers, through the classic, which is about 30k, and all the way up to the main event, which will be also the same as tomorrow's trail running European Championship. 47 kilometers of glorious terrain and hardship over every single conceivable surface. And you can see here these are the parts of the national park that's been covered in black volcanic ash.
I imagine that's very difficult to run on, very abrasive, and very slippery, I would guess. I'm not an expert on running on volcanic ash, luckily.
Well, I believe we're hoping to try and go out there today for a little bit of an afternoon ramble, and we might get a bit of a feel for it. But look at the celebrations there at the end. It really is, as they say, it's going to be a fiesta.
Yes, and you can see, I mean, this camera shows you why La Palma is such an amazing tourist location, and just set up for it's just the perfect temperature all year round, 23 degrees, not too hot, not too cold, and just amazing mountains to enjoy. I'm just checking the camera work as they go through, panning through, so just keep speed with them. But so I think we're anticipating the women's winner. Let's have a look.
The
next 3-5 minutes,
something like that. Yeah. Especially given that late charge for Mort Matisse, it'll be very interesting to see what sort of time comes out of it.
So, of course, time is irrelevant in trail running. That's what makes it so hugely popular. I mean, people never... So if you run a track race, people always ask you, or a road race, so people, what time did you do? And, if you don't say a certain time, you could just get a blank look. Whereas if you no one ever asks you how long did it take in a trail race. They just say, wow, that's amazing.
It seems to be one of the most controversial debates you see on mountain running forums is this whole, when you see a course record, can it compare? Because courses, first of all, change a lot. But trails change even more. And from day to day, from year to year, the conditions can be entirely different.
Yeah, well, the vertical kilometre I ran, so it's the same climbing in the Lake District just the other week. So the winner took 46 minutes. So a little bit slower than this, but it was completely different terrain, completely. And it was pouring with rain, and because it was in Britain, obviously, and very windy. But was he quicker? Was he slower? It doesn't matter, does it? He just completed that run in 46 minutes, and the women in about pretty good on that day, actually. I think around 50 minutes. So different. I mean, course records, I'm going to boldly say, are irrelevant in the world of trail running, because the weather, even here in beautiful La Palma, we have seen some rain clouds. It can rain here. Definitely the vegetation suggests it does rain occasionally, so you wouldn't want to run this at an amazing pace in pouring rain, I don't think.
No, we saw that there wasn't many slippery parts to this course, especially as it's mainly uphill today. There's some sections of the very, very dry path actually become slippy just because the sand is so loose. But the only really treacherous part is the conifers here shed very, very long needles, and they lie in layers that are nearly a fist thick.
And hiding rocks and roots and all sorts of danger. So we're just watching a quick review of the men's race.
Yes, I think we're back to this morning start at 10 a.m. Yeah, we are. We see here the teams just getting ready for the start.
Our Spanish director is just going through a review now of the day, really. So we know the men's result, and we know that it's a very fast opening few kilometres before they hit the regular trails, before moving on to the more technical trails.
It seems the fact that they've panned back here to the finish line at 1,603 metres suggests that it might not be long now until we see the leader.
So yeah, we've got about 50 minutes on the clock. So I'm thinking the cameraman is getting moderately excited. I wonder how easy it is to get all the cameras up there. I imagine the national park are quite strict about what you're going to lug up there and what you can take.
If you do come back, this part of the national park is called the Caldera de Taburiente. So it's, as we say, for those who were not part of the first few hours of our transmission today, it's an absolutely ancient and massive volcanic crater. And tomorrow in the 47K, you're really going to see what lies beyond the cliffs we're looking at now. Massive drops. Like, it is not for the faint-hearted if you don't like heights.
No, I live in the flatlands of Britain, and I was quite happy running up, and then when I stopped to chat with you, I looked, I thought, oh, that's quite a deep ravine there. And here we go, there's the women's winner.
There is Maud Matisse, making history. 4 European championships in a row, and she is also, by the looks of it, competing in the up and down race on Sunday, so she could make it 5.
She is an unbelievable athlete. I mean, there's no. She has run just a perfect race. She has come from the pack and moved into a commanding lead that just from pretty much 4K onwards is job done. Victory for her. So well done.
And between herself and Andrea, they have won 6 of the last 7 Europeans. And she...
Such dominance. I mean, it's just, it'd be fascinating to listen to her afterwards. Talk. I mean, just how can you be so dominant in something so competitive? I mean, it's not like, you know, these are tough fields she's competing against.
And she's also one of the few athletes to actually compete in the Golden Trail Series while doing these championships.
So she is made of iron.
She made it gold for Maud Matisse, truly a legend of this sport, and that will, I'd say, carve her into the annals for the decades to come.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it will be. If anyone can beat that record, it's going to be tough. I mean, and the woman's second here is.
How fitting that it is her ancient rival, not ancient in age, but just the amount of time these two ladies have gone head to head. There must be a tremendous amount of respect built up between them over the years.
It's fascinating to see that they, you know, it just went straight to the form book now, 1-2. You know, I think early on we were boldly thinking, oh, this is going to be a change, but no.
Scout Atkin rallied well. She could have gotten easily discouraged, but here she is, pretty close to the 2 most experienced.
No, I am impressed with that. I am impressed with that finish. She has rallied superbly well.
And is this Kate Avery we're seeing now? She seems to have donned the cap.
Scout had a cap on earlier. Have they swapped around? Very difficult to tell from the camera. Wow.
Smiles all round for Maud Matisse.
So I'm not going to boldly predict any team result there, although we know that Austria only had 1, so they won't be competing.
Switzerland came into this with 4.
Yeah, Switzerland are going to be tough to beat as usual.
But with Scout Atkin and Kate Avery packing so well, and we saw as well that Holly Page was not too far down the field.
Here we go. Who is this? This is the German.
Yes, the German Dominika Meyer.
So she's rallied well in the second half as well, I think. Dominika was off the pace early on and then has come through.
She was starting to look a bit tense there, but here she's moving well, nice and controlled, keeping her stride together. And we get a few more runners now. We can see, if the viewers look down, you can see the switchbacks. Now this gentleman we met on our way down yesterday, so I imagine he's part of the race organisation. And
we did, didn't we?
Yes, you wear the grey hair and the shirtless look. We don't know who he is, but
good. He looked a bit tired there. He wasn't at all tired yesterday.
And I think we have a Bulgarian athlete arriving now.
Yes, that's right. She's been up there for the entire race.
The Bulgarians too have a team, 3 runners in it. It could be Milica Mirkova. And this is the Dutch runner, Giselle.
Wow.
Slot Boom, doing very well.
That is amazing, isn't it? A Dutch mountain superstar.
She wondered, does she train on the dikes of Holland, or is she located somewhere else? There's so many of these.
I believe she's relocated. She must have done. You cannot learn the technical abilities. So there's a 3rd British runner, 2nd German runner. 4th.
That is actually Kate Avery, I believe, came in there.
Yeah.
Going by the hairdo. And
Spain, Germany, and another Brit.
It's looking fairly solid for Great Britain here, I think, for the team competition.
Yeah, shall I boldly say that Britain have won the team? That undoubtedly means we're 2nd.
We got the hint of a sprint finish there. The German just put in a final effort to make absolutely sure that old rivalry ended up in the German favour.
I'm impressed that you can raise any sprint there. I just sat down yesterday.
We've seen it occasionally. I have watched many European uphill-only trials, and you do sometimes see it when that final place is on the line. It's amazing the power some of the athletes can still mobilize. And maybe that's why we see sometimes that these steeplechases, slightly different profile of athlete can excel here. If you have a lot of strength, but you might lack a bit of leg speed.
Yeah, I don't think leg speed comes into this at all. It's hip mobility, it's ankle strength. And also, it's an understanding of how your body works that's going to make you the best trail mountain runner. Because, there we go, there's Maud, 51.50. So quite close, really.
Yes, we got a 34-second gap, and Christelle Deval was 3rd. So actually
you were getting overexcited. That's the French woman, yeah.
Yes, I pointed out she is the French vertical kilometer champion, so she overtook Scout Atkin by the looks of it, and only 22 seconds in it.
Yeah.
Susanna Sapunki in 5th, the Finn.
Oh, Susanna, who I sat next to on the flight. Well done, Susanna.
And Dominika Maya, as we saw, in 6th. Milica Mirkova, the Bulgarian, in 7th. Giselle Slotboom, then Dutch, in 8th. And Gloria Guidici from Italy. And Kate Avery manages to sneak herself into that top 10 with a 55.08 time.
That's good. Kate rallied there. 10th. She perhaps is going to go away thinking, oh, that's terrible. But she's ran a good second half after obviously struggling in the middle point there. So, but well done, Susanna Sapunki from Finland.
So we've got 14 points in so far for Britain, and all of the other nations in that top 10 have only 1 runner.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be very hard. Here's Owen's going to interview Matisse. I imagine that will be in English.
The middle of the race, I feel good, and I saw woman was tired, and I think, okay, I try to attack, to push, and I did the difference here at about 6 kilometers.
And such a great rival, your eternal rival Andrea as well, just behind you. I'm sure you were keeping a close eye on her as well, and you had maybe about 15-20 meters at the finish line just ahead. What a wonderful moment that must have been.
It's incredible, and it's a surprise for me because I was injured, and I couldn't train how I wanted. So yes, I see the shape is here, and it's good for the next.
And Maud, for myself, for all the listeners at home watching, what are the tips? What are your secrets to your success to be so consistent over such a long period? Is it easy running? Is it getting the balance of racing correct? Is it good diet, good sleep? What are the key things for you?
I think I train not very, not a lot, and I train with different sports. I do a lot of bike.
Wow.
And in terms of hours, I train only 10 hours per week.
Okay.
I have a family, so
sure.
When the training is finished, I change my mind and I leave.
So there's a great balance there.
Yes.
And it's working so well.
Yes.
4 in a row. Would you like to come back for 5 in a row?
Yeah, maybe.
Hopefully
I
so.
hope.
Hopefully so. Listen, Mo, you mentioned your family. If you would like to say hello to them there, they're watching hopefully live on YouTube and on our Facebook and Instagram.
Hello, my family. I cheers you and all the Swiss. Yes, I thought to you in the race, and thank you very much for your message and your cheerings.
Well, thank you very much. There we have it, guys. What a wonderful champion. 4 in a row. I'm sure she'll be back next year for 5 in a row. And the secrets to success, having a nice balanced life, lots of biking, and not always thinking about running all the time. Renee, Paul, back to you guys.
Hey, thank you for that. So I'm going to ride home on my bike.
You'll need to get on the Fred Olsen Expressway. But yes, it's always been an interesting thing about cycling as training for trail running, because so many trail runners, they do dabble or nearly swear to the bike as a cross training tool. And for the kind of hobby physiologists out there, it appears to be because running is traditionally what we call an isometric activity, which means it's an elastic sport. And so we say, we're getting here the elite teams for the females. So we do have Great Britain with 26 points, as expected, followed by Switzerland on 34, so well clear there with 8, and Italy third. So Christelle, not Christelle Deval, she was for the French team. She did not lead France home. Italy must have packed quite well in the top 10.
Yeah.
Or just outside the top 10 to make the podium.
Currently, I'm proud that Great Britain have won, and I've finally got one result right. So by Sunday evening, I perhaps could predict 2 or 3 team victories. So fantastic, well done, Great Britain, in a pretty technical event that we don't really specialise in Britain. So uphill running, straight uphill running. So does that bode well for the ascent and descent race, up and down?
I would imagine it does.
I think it does, yeah. So looking forward to that now. So
we get the individual results. So we had them on earlier, but yeah, Mort Matisse just under 52 minutes and followed only 34 seconds later by her rival Andrea Meyer. It'd be nice to see the full top 20, because really it seems like the team results, they got decided by the runners coming in there between 11th and 20th.
Yeah, as team competition so often is about the runners in after 10th place. They really are the important competitors in this event. So I'm just watching the camera span over, see if we can see anyone jogging home. So no, not yet. So it's another beautiful day here in La Palma. So we're probably signing off soon, are we? I don't know. Or we're getting more analysis from us.
We'll see. I think the formal end time for today's transmission is scheduled for noon. So 12 here, Canarian time. And if you are listening from mainland Europe, obviously you are an hour ahead of us. And there will be, I hope, people listening from quite a lot more countries than that, and from a lot more time zones. But we are going straight into basically the siesta season and the heat of the day from the studio.
Yes, they were very excited. It was summer is almost here in La Palma, but I don't know if that means. I don't think it means too hot, does it? So it's pleasant today.
So we're just getting confirmation here again of young Lucas Early, the runaway winner in the under-20 men's uphill race, ahead of 2 of the locals, Juan Torella and Marcos Villanueva, and that was enough for team victory for Spain early on. And there's a very, very narrow. Finlay Grant missed out on the podium with that slip into the rocks at the last switchback.
Is Finlay running tomorrow in the uphill and downhill race? He may bear a few scars.
Would he be a well-known name already now on the British running scene?
Yeah, I think he's established himself as a good junior. So yes, it's a very trail running is a very location-driven sport. I mean, the best trail runners live in the lakes, or they live in Scotland. To some degree, they might live in the Peak District in Britain. But so yeah, he's established himself in that group.
I'm seeing here in the notes that he is indeed running the up and down on Sunday, so it's all about recovery tomorrow.
Well, I hope he hasn't scarred himself too badly on that fall. The volcanic rock definitely will leave its mark, that's for sure. But, it wasn't a big fall. I'm sure he's okay.
No, and thankfully he fell at very low speed. It's tomorrow really is when you come down these slopes and you can hit easily over 13 kilometers per hour.
Yes, you'll be moving at a very fast speed, quicker than that possibly at some points, because it is so steep and so it looks predictable much of the trail, but it isn't predictable. That's the key. So, but it's a special skill that you need to learn. I ran very glamorously with a guy called Hayden Horse, who's one of the top ultra distance runners. And he was trying to teach me how to run downhill, looking 2 meters in front, and focusing at speed, which sort of works. But then he was gone within about 5 seconds, and I never saw him again.
Yes, it is talked about a lot, and it takes a bit of practice because, especially the steeper the slope gets, the more you want to look down right in front of you. But neuroscientists have found that your body has already scanned the area about 10 foot ahead of you, or 3 meters in an old body.
Yes, which I cannot believe, but is true. And it does work, to be fair. And it is just a matter of confidence, which these guys have got. So they're not at the European Championships for nothing. So here we go, looking at early. It's interesting to see how dramatic the change was after this. This is the early leaders in the women's
we can
race.
see the Finn there, Susanna, way back in 5th, running herself into 4th. The Portuguese, the Bulgarian in 4th, really jumped off in the last half of that race.
Yeah, and Kate is there up in 2nd place. Looking at, early on, it shows you how you can be sucked into form guides, if you like. Early on, I was thinking, well, Kate's in a perfect position here. It's relatively, she's got so much speed, but can't turn that into all the other skills that you require in trail running.
And you really do need to marshal your resources, because if you are just a little bit too far into the red when you hit a steep slope, the amount you slow down can be surprising. In a road race, or a track race, it's not as dramatic. But if you are near your limit and you hit a steep slope, it can be a crawl rather than.
Well, yeah, and we see it in the Tour de France, don't we? When they hit the mountains. The sprinters, Mark Cavendish or whatever, are gone, and they can barely make the cut. And then the mountain riders are just in a different league. So it's similar to this, isn't it? I mean, I think if they all went to the track this afternoon, Kate Avery would probably beat them all in a track workout. But that's kind of irrelevant.
It is, yeah. It is a specialist discipline, and you do see regularly very good road cross-country track runners who make the jump. But it's not a given that just because you rule the roost on the track, you can just come in here and have it all your own way. There is a transition process.
Oh, for sure. I would like to see more supposed superstars from track give it a go, because it's. I think it's so exciting to run the trails, and so challenging and so rewarding.
And there was a bit of history. We used to have characters like Ron Hill, which most people know because of his famous gear brand, and also, of course, his incredible 50-something-year running streak, or whatever it ended up being.
Yes.
But he was a precocious marathon runner on the roads, and yet really enjoyed going out as well, running on the hills.
Yeah, well, he came from an era, you're right, he came from an era where people did do that, to be fair. Ron, I love Ron. He's a superstar, a 2:10 marathon runner, but winner of every fell race you can possibly think of, and but would do them. He would often run a fell race and he would go to a break. Just looking at tomorrow's races. Challenging for sure. That's going to be, I think, the watchword for tomorrow. A fantastic ridge they're running along there. .47 kilometres, so that would take, I don't know, 3.5 hours, I think, for the winner tomorrow. Back at the finish line, they've all got to decamp and make their way back down now. So I can see it's just left to the race organisers now. The woman in purple there is the one of the race organisers, and that's the guy standing next to her is in fact one of the Britain's greatest ever trail runners, Andy Peace.
Did you say Andy is still the record holder at the Three Peaks race?
He is, yeah. With he did show it to me. I can't remember what it is now. It's still a record.
Perhaps, do you think, as we reflect on this first day of this new format, isn't it exciting that instead of everything being over today, and this is it, the one-day format we were used to for the All European Championship, we have a full weekend to look forward to.
Oh, way better. I mean, and that's how sport has got to evolve, hasn't it? I mean, running and cycling or whatever, all sports have got to evolve like that. In that, you're going to come and spend some time here on the island and enjoying it and taking in this. So the race is over now, but we've got all afternoon to enjoy all the facilities and all the countryside and all the trails, and that's what the sport has to understand. It's as much tourism as it is sport.
Yeah, and it's something they're very aware of here on La Palma. It is one of the remoter of the Canary Islands. It's the westernmost, northwesternmost of the islands. It's one of the smaller ones, not quite as well known as the more familiar names like Gran Canaria and Lanzarote. But it really has so much to admire, and there is a quirky charm to the fact that it's not quite as overrun, and it's not you don't get the tourist trap vibes the same way you will do in certain parts. I'm not in any way dissing the other islands, but you will go to very well-known tourist locations on those, and they're very busy.
Yeah, I understand that completely. This is more local for sure, but I think it attracts the right kind of people. I mean, trail runners. Definitely pack your bags and come here. You couldn't run 2% of the trails that are available. It's just incredible.
Yeah, and I saw yesterday on the Irish Mountain Running Forum a very excited message from one of the runners back home saying, yes, I went down to La Palma and it was fantastic. I ran I think it's called Muchacho, which is the biggest mountain here. And he said the descent off it is fantastic. And the highest peak on this island is 2,000. So it looks like we are signing off here. So with a final glimpse here back on the mountains, we look forward to taking